to the 50th ever TWitWoW monthly Q&A. We have got a grand total of 42 questions to be answering today, and we will be answering them all. And these have all just come since our last Q&A, which was July 30th, so a good majority of these were actually in the month of August. I hope I didn't miss any, but if I did, be sure to let me know. If you got your questions in at the last minute anywhere other than the Discord, I probably didn't get them, so if you just let me know now, or at some point while we're live, I can still record them, I can still put them in the little spreadsheet, or it's a doc that I have, and we'll be all good. But 42 questions. It is August 2020. John is on his tablet right now, and he will be getting back to his normal mic around 7:50. So until then, he's probably going to sound a little bit weird. But until then, John, how you doing, bud?
Oh, brother, I'm doing fucking great. We're in this shit. So let's do it. Let's answer these fucking questions. Look, tablet, computer, it doesn't matter. Listen, I am tilting my fucking face off. I'm ready to turn up. Maybe tear my shirt off because clothes are a social construct, and answer all of these questions as best I can. So let's fucking get in this shit.
All right, excellent. Our first set of questions come from Hypothesis, and his first question was for both of us, and he asks, if Lucha Underground would get a prequel season, how should it be presented to the live crowd and to the home audience?
I mean, for me, it's weird because I would almost want it to be like a film, really. Like I know he said like series, but I don't know if series would work. I would much prefer like a prequel film that looks at each of the tribes, their relationships and their conflicts. So maybe emphasis on one or two particular tribes if you wanted, because I know like every movie, right, needs an established protagonist and antagonist usually. So yeah, I'd much prefer like just a film that maybe would get a Netflix release that would look at the tribe, their relationship, and just the ultimate conflict. What about you, bud?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know if a proper prequel to Lucha Underground. There are two angles you could go with it. So the one angle I think is the one that you took, John, where it's like we're looking back at the ancient Aztec history of the tribes. Maybe we get to see how the gods showed up, what happened when they showed up, how they were sealed away, that kind of stuff. That would be a great movie. Another angle is you could have the prequel literally be Antonio Cueto when he was the age that we know Dario Cueto is being now. So I'm guessing when he was in his like 30s-ish, maybe 40s, when he was that age. As it turns out, Dario Cueto didn't have any unique ideas. He literally just got the idea for Lucha Underground from his papa. And we find out that Papa Cueto, Antonio Cueto, had his own version of Lucha Underground like 30 or 40 years ago. And that is the setting. And the way that you handle that with a live audience is you basically tell them it's a fucking dress-up night. It's like, hey, y'all, we're going to have a wrestling promotion, but it's based in the 70s. So be sure to come wearing time-era appropriate clothing.
I love that. That's a great idea. I'd be totally here for that.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool too. So either one of those things would work. I think it would be a lot of fun for sure. And especially because isn't Glow based in like the 70s or the 80s, the Netflix show?
I would say it feels 70s, 80s, yeah.
Yeah, so you could even kind of have a similar tone to that, and you could kind of have like the similarly satirical gimmicks, like the way Glow has, like with Liberty Bell and shit like that. I think that would be a really, really cool concept for Lucha Underground Season 5, or a prequel series in general for LU. Second question from Hypothesis, though. This one's just for me. And he says, Ash's team is apparently going to be Pikachu, Dragonite, Gengar, Lucario, and Sirfetch'd, as well as one other Pokemon, and he wants me to pick the last one. So let's see. He's got a Dragon Flying type. He's got, obviously, Pikachu's electric. We don't have to worry about that. He's got a Ghost Poison type. He's got a Fighting Steel type. And is Sirfetch'd Fighting type? I believe Sirfetch'd is Fighting type. Yeah, pure Fighting. So he's got a little bit of redundancy there between Sirfetch'd and Lucario, but if I had to pick one other Pokemon, he has a flying type already in Dragonite, so that's cool. So I would say he should probably get himself a Mamoswine. A Piloswine, Mamoswine, starts out as Swinub. I would say that little guy would be a great addition to his team because he is missing a ground type, and I also always like to have an ice type on my team as well. Another option if he didn't want to have an ice type, but he just wanted something that could use ice type moves, or if he just wanted to teach like Ice Beam or Ice Punch to his other Pokemon and just have that be his ice type move, he could also rock like you know what? Let me actually look at the current gen. Although most of his Pokemon aren't current gen. He has 3 Gen 1 Pokemon and then a Gen 4. So I'll go with Gen 4 and just say like a Shellos or a Gastrodon or even like a Quagsire. Basically, I'm looking for ground types that have good type coverage. So like a ground water type would be really, really good because then it only takes super effective damage from grass. And like if he comes up against a grass type, he has Dragonite that would completely wall everything that a grass type could throw at it and probably be able to handle it with like some kind of ice move, I'm guessing, or even flamethrower, because I know Dragonite can learn that too. So yeah, I would say a ground type that is also either water or ice. So that's kind of where I'm going here. So third question for my hypothesis is for you, John, and this question is: Have you watched any of 13 Reasons Why after season 2?
No, I've quit 13 Reasons Why. That's what you asked, right? Because you did cut out a little bit there for me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I dropped it. I started watching a bit of season 3, but like it just no, it's one of the worst shows I've ever seen about dealing with suicide, mental illness. I think there's genuine rapist apologia in there, which I wouldn't hate so much, I guess, because I do believe in rehabilitative justice rather than just purely retributive justice, as you guys know, listen to the podcast. But it's like there's no accountability in the first place. So you can't just go into like rehabilitating somebody when they've never had the accountability moment to me. And they kind of do that in this show in my mind. And yeah, it just fucking sucks. I'm glad it's over. And honestly, funny you bring that up, hypothesis, because I'm more bitter about that show now than I've ever been, because I think that got like 4 seasons, and I found out yesterday that Altered Carbon, a sci-fi show that I fucking adored, isn't going to be getting a 3rd season. They got canceled. So Netflix can chortle my balls. Is pretty much where I'm feeling right now. So
yeah, I'm totally down with that, man. All right. Next up, you know what, John? I actually wanted to kind of consult you on this. Our next set of questions are Rotten Butter's questions, and obviously you know that his first question is like the longer one about, what have you watched lately, that kind of thing. Do you want to save Rotten Butter's questions for when you get on your computer to be able to talk at long form, or do you want to just do them right now and just deal with it?
We'll just deal with it, man. Let's get after it. I know what the first question is. I've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of reading this month. That's one big thing. I just got done philosopher Kate Mann's book Entitled, which is so good. The subtitle being like How Male Privilege Hurts Women. Her preceding book Down Girl was also really good. I'd recommend both. And now I'm currently working on a book that reads the philosopher Immanuel Kant as a communist, which I'm immensely enjoying. So I've been doing a lot of reading this month. Finished Mysteries this month with the family. That first season.
Finished what? Unsolved Mysteries?
I enjoyed that. Unsolved Mysteries, yeah. Unsolved Mysteries. It's been pretty good. I would say, Ash and I have obviously been playing a lot of Rocket League. We did a Twitch stream recently doing that, covering Raw. We'll be doing another Twitch stream tomorrow covering SmackDown. You guys want to be here for that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We watched Project Power last night, which was really good. And Birds of Prey. And Birds of Prey. We got Birds of Prey. Me personally, not only did I watch the Batman trailer with Ashton, but I actually went on my own and I watched a lot of reaction videos to it. and it seems to be universally loved across the board. I haven't heard anybody complain about Pattinson's Batman. I'm especially excited about the Riddler, who's apparently being played by Paul Dano, and I have no idea like who that is. I've probably seen him and stuff, and I just don't know it. So that's going to be really interesting. What else have the family and I watched? We watched a really early. I'll tell you something we did, guys. We got like a subscription for like an MTV app, and we watched a really early season of Real World, and that was fucking sending us, man. Because I think that season took place in like '98 or '97, and like just the saturation of like the film quality and the aesthetic and the type of people they have on there. It's like, oh my god, the fucking like it really was a time capsule. It was a time capsule.
Who were the cast members, bro? Who were the people that were on it?
I can't even remember, because here's the thing about this season, dude, is that it was based in London. So they got like a lot of like London-based people out of it. I think people flying out. There was one guy who I think had a very conservative father. He was like, you know, you got to be careful going over there. And it's like, oh, Dad, man, 2020 is going to be really kind.
Bro, that season took place in 1995.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I was off. I was only 3 years old at the time, guys, and it was fucking wild. Yeah, really, really interesting. It really shows you too how much like the character beats, I guess for the people that get together, the conversations and stuff like that, how much they've tonally shifted. Because I was even talking to the family, like the 90s, at least as portrayed in that show, seemed to be characterized by like a kind of optimism. Like, you know, you weren't really so pressed on like race or misogyny or ableism or transphobia. It was more like, oh, you know, I'm pursuing to be a race car driver. There really was one guy that was like, yeah, I do like high-speed racing, stuff like that. Another girl that's like, I think a fencing. She does fencing. And it's like, damn, you know, remember a decade when we all just had blissful ignorance that there weren't any deeper systemic or like existential threats to human life? Yeah, those were the days. So that was interesting. What else? I watched a trailer. I think it's called Enola Holmes or Ilona Holmes. It's pretty much based on the sister of Sherlock Holmes, and it's got Millie Bobby Brown in that role, and Henry Cavill as Sherlock Holmes.
Oh wow!
So, and Bohemian Carter. I forget what her name is, or her first name is something Bohemian Carter. She's in it, so it seems like a pretty stacked cast. And speaking of watching the Batman trailer, I know we watched a bunch of the other DC trailers. You know, Wonder Woman 1984, that was fucking great.
Oh, you're talking about Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes, that's the one. And she's in that Enola Holmes film, which it looks really good. I think it might be quite fun. But yeah, Ash and I, we watched all the other DC trailers, I guess, to come out of Fandom this week.
Yep.
Which was, again, a really fun experience. The Suicide Squad with James Gunn looks really promising. I'm excited for that. Batman trailer, though, more I watch that, the more I get hyped for that. But Wonder Woman 1984, because I thought the original Wonder Woman was one of the strongest properties that DC had come out at that time. And I think the sequel's definitely going to do it justice, at least from the way that it looks. I'm trying to think what else we did. Because I know the family and I, we did the latest season of The Challenge. I think we finished that this month. We did Party Down South, which is just this amazing redneck reality show. Redneck culture is fucking wild. Yeah, so that was interesting to kind of peek in on that. And yeah, you know what? I think I know like on the music front, Every Hour Kills came out with 2 new songs, which were okay. I really actually like the first album I ever heard from them, and I was really excited for more stuff. But it hasn't been terrible by any means, but it hasn't reached that level of the stuff that I really like. So, you know, that's been something. But I think I'm just going to press pause here, and I'm going to hand it over to Ashton, and he can kind of talk about his month with you guys.
Okay, yeah. Wow. Well, we've been through both the, I think we did Avatar The Last Airbender last month, and then this month we did The Legend of Korra.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you already mentioned all of the DC trailers that we've watched. But as far as movies, yeah, we did Project Power and Birds of Prey yesterday. We started watching Doom Patrol a couple days ago, and we're definitely going to be
That's
plowing through
right.
more of that tonight. And it was great. The first two episodes, which is all that we got through though. But that was the first two episodes were great. Um, trying to think of what else. I'm going to pull up. Hello. Oh, there we go. Pulling up the movies and television tab, the channel in our Discord, because a lot of the time when I watch something, I'll actually say something in there about it. And I've kind of been doing that intentionally lately as a way to kind of keep track for this very question.
Always got to come prepared, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Oh, Umbrella Academy Season 2 was awesome.
Yes. Yes, that was so good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Here we go. Let's see here. I've been watching some Richard Wolff lectures on YouTube. So I guess that counts as something that I've watched.
Very cool.
I've also just started last night actually watching I guess it's a documentary. It's a Frontline special, which is a PBS thing, but it's like it's a multi-part thing, and each part is like an hour 55. But it's basically about the Great Divide, the partisan divide in America, and the radicalization of the right from pretty much everyone else. And I haven't gotten into the next part yet, but I'm assuming that there's eventually going to be a part where they also talk about then the radicalization of the left and people like us moving more close to like the anarcho-communism beliefs and stuff like that. But it's been really interesting so far. And believe it or not, dude, it's the way that they frame it makes it almost seem like Sarah Palin was proto Donald Trump.
Bro, you want to hear something fucking crazy? Is I've been watching the same shit you have. I watched a little bit of Megyn Kelly's interview where she kind of talks about that. I think she even says like Palin was like proto Trump.
Yeah.
The big one I watched, I don't know if you watched this. My mom couldn't believe that I actually subjected myself to this. I actually watched both parts of the Steve Bannon interview that they did for this.
Okay.
Just because like they really positioned him as like the chief strategist of the Trump campaign, as the guy that was the reason why Trump was victorious. And it really, like, I was even telling you in a message earlier today, it's so easy and with good reason. You know, I'm not like denying anybody that does this to just dismiss extreme right-wing ideology out of hand as like nonsense or like that's just ridiculous or whatever. But I think it's important that we understand on some level like what its contents are, which are pretty obvious, but also how it operates. Because when you hear Bannon speak, right, and then this is what's so insidious about it, there's a reason why we call it like right-wing populist, because it's, you know, it's like this for this people kind of mentality. The elites, the bankers, you know, corporations are fucking you guys over. I mean, Bannon's whole thing, and he said it in multiple interviews because I really wanted to get a feel for like his diction, his speech patterns, like how he lays something out. He compares millennials to like 19th century, or maybe not 19th century, but he compares them to serfs. He says, you know, you got.
John, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Your mic cut out. Oh, for fuck's sakes. I can't hear you, John. You're not coming through at all. He hung up, guys, which means that he's going to call back. I think. Maybe. Then again, maybe his internet just cut out. For fuck's sakes. He is on Messenger, so I'm thinking it's probably not that his internet cut out. He saw the message that I just sent him, so I'm guessing that this isn't an internet outage. And there is that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, hello.
I have no idea what happened there because I didn't have my mic muted or anything, I swear. So it must have been like a weird thing. I can't even explain it. But what was the last thing you heard me say?
About Bannon and the way he speaks and the way that he said that millennials are like serfs.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I don't have to go that far back. Because he says, like, you guys may be in better shape, have better technology, this and that, but you don't own anything and you're not going to own anything. And I think that's important because that does appeal to genuine economic frustration. The insidious part of it is, though, whereas left-wing populism would appeal to that same economic frustration, and I think you and I have even had conversations about this, the left, especially, like, again, the anarcho-communists or whatever, they'll dovetail that frustration into critiques of the structural, of corporatocracy, of capitalism, this and that. Whereas the right wing will take that economic resentment, that economic frustration, and dovetail it into conspiracies, George Soros, the Jews, the migrant problem, etc. Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note how economic malaise, how economic stagnation, and the resentment that results from that is a really fertile breeding ground for radicalization for both the left and the right. And that's really, I think, the biggest thing I got from those Bannon interviews.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were done at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm only about halfway through the first part, but yeah, it's funny that you're talking about the individual interviews. I didn't know that they were like separate things. Or do they have the videos like separated? Like they have like the full Megyn Kelly interview in one video and the full Steve Bannon interview in another video and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Oh, I'm just watching the whole documentary beginning to end, and I'm at like an hour and 5 minutes into it. So.
Damn, I mean, given the length of the interviews individually, that documentary's got to be long as shit. Holy fuck.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a multi-part thing, and each part is an hour 55.
God damn, dude. Yeah. That's freaking intense.
Yeah. So anyway, back to talking about the shit that I've watched this month. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Team Star Kid on YouTube, but they make like plays basically, and they have one called Twisted: The Untold Story of a Royal Vizier. And I watched that back on like the 4th or 5th or something like that. The second. It was the second. Let's see what else. I know that, I mean, I've already mentioned this. I know that I've started watching a few movies this month that I literally couldn't finish, that they were just trash, like Ted, and there was one other one that I forget. I just straight up forget what the other one was. Damn, that's frustrating. Huh?
I think you told me about that. I can't remember either.
Hear you. The what movie? Oh, well, I'm talking about bad movies right now, though. I watched Harriet the Spy earlier on in the month, and that movie's fucking horrible. That movie is so bad, you legitimately shouldn't let kids watch it. Like, that's a kid's movie that no responsible parent should let their kid watch. We did finish out season 7 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the final season, and it was amazing. It was like the perfect ending. I fucking loved it. John, are you there?
Oh, I'm there. I just thought we were going to keep going. I mean, I enjoyed the final season as well. I thought it ended quite well.
Travelers. We finished Travelers, and it was really good.
Yeah, that show, I think, is one of the most unique premises of a show that I've seen. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you guys haven't.
That's one of those situations, too, where the show and the premise were really, really good. Like, not even just really, really good, but, like, exceptionally good. Like, amazingly good. But then the ending was still good, but made you want more. And then you find out that the show's canceled, and it's like, well, shit.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly.
It's like another Alphas. Fuck.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? What else? What else? I watched Shawshank Redemption with my mom for the first time ever. I had never seen that movie before, and that I literally just watched that like last week, and it's great. Definitely recommended to anyone that hasn't seen it. It's really good.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me how much you liked it. That's awesome. I don't think I've ever seen the movie in full. I've only seen like the most famous scenes on YouTube.
Yeah. I feel like I've watched a lot on my own time this month. We watched The Other Guys. There was that one day a couple weeks ago where we watched like 4 movies in one day, and I just don't remember most of them. One of them was Accepted, I know that. It was like Accepted. I just don't remember what they were. It's really annoying. Music wise, I've actually been really into like pop punk lately. You know, I've always, there's always going to be a time pretty much every year, at least once or twice a year, that I go through like a few weeks of being into pop punk. And I guess that the last few weeks have just kind of been that time for me this month or this year. John, did you just turn your volume up on your tablet?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm only asking because I could hear my own voice through yours, like through your mic, but now I can't more. So, anyway, so I've been looking into like some like 2000s and 2010s pop punk bands. Checked out Go Radio, and then because that same lead singer was for Mayday Parade, I also checked out Mayday Parade. A Day to Remember, Pierce the Veil, Paris, State Champs, The Starting Line. Mostly been listening to All Time Low though, and because I've been into pop punk, and you all know that I'm also in the process of learning Japanese, I discovered a Japanese pop punk band that makes American style pop punk music with mostly English lyrics. It's pretty crazy, actually. The name of the band is L Garden. It's ELLE Garden, no space, all caps. And the lead singer of that band, it's like, oh shit. You know what? I'm just gonna Google it so I don't get it wrong. The name of the lead singer is Takeshi Hosomi. And that dude has other projects on top of just L Garden, where it's pretty much the same style. It's like that like American pop punk style music with mostly English lyrics. And the name of those bands are The Hiatus and Mono Eyes. And again, it's all caps. The Hiatus, the word "the" isn't in caps, but Mono Eyes is. But it's all really good shit. And then earlier on in the month, I was in more of like a heavier, like a melodic metalcore kind of mood. And I've always loved the Howard Jones era of Killswitch Engage. So I looked into Howard Jones, and he also has more projects past the Killswitch Engage stuff that he did. Because, like, I think my favorite melodic metalcore album of all time is Killswitch Engage's 2008 album, which was called Killswitch Engage. It was self-titled, actually. I fucking love that album. So I looked more into Howard Jones's projects. He has one called Devil You Know, and then he has another one. I'm trying to remember what it was. Let me see if I can find the name of it. Howard Jones. Let's see, this one. Here we go. You know what it is? It's not that they're different projects, it's that they renamed the band. So it's formerly Devil You Know, currently going by the name Light the Torch. But yeah, so I listened to a bunch of them at one point as well. That's about it as far as music goes, I think. And I guess in music news as far as my life goes, I finally got a subscription to Spotify, and I'm kind of in the process currently of transferring all of my playlists over from Napster to Spotify. So that's a thing too. That's about it though. So I think we can kind of end it there. And I am going to go to our next question, which is, if you had children, what movies or shows would you introduce them to at the following ages? And then he has 3 age groups, the first one being 1 to 5, the second one being 6 to 10, the third one being 11 to 15.
Jesus.
I think
1 to 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think 1 to 5, it's mostly just like cutesy, cartoony, educational, like Sesame Street type shit, like PBS, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe just like a Sesame Street movie, like Elmo does something or what the fuck ever. 6 to 10, maybe the more like Charlie Brown shit, like a Charlie Brown Christmas or a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. And then, like, what was the last one? 11 to 15?
Yep.
11 to 15. Did they say movies and TV shows or just movies?
They said both, movies and TV shows.
Well, at that age, I'd introduce them to Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Aha.
Like, for fucking sure. Like, yeah, that'd be the big thing. So, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I don't know if God, hard for me to even think about having a kid, but if that were to happen, I don't know if I would really even want to introduce them to any particular TV shows or movies at that early of an age, like the 1 to 5, I mean.
Yeah.
And if I would, I don't know. I would almost want it to be like educational shit. Like, there's this, I know that there's a show that's like Ask the Question Bots or something like that, or Ask the Answer Bots or something like that. Ask the Question Bots? Is it Question Bots? No, it's not that. Netflix show, and it's Ask the Something Bots. Ask the Story Bots, that's what it is. And so this is like this, there are 22 episodes of it over 3 seasons. I don't think that it's been formally canceled yet, so there might be more of it to come out, but it is specifically designed for preschool kids. So that would probably be like the along the lines of the type of content that I would want to introduce a child to at that age. And then like the 6 to 10, that seems like really great age for like Bill Nye type programming. Like we can go from animation to like real live action type stuff, but still like keep it educational, make sure that they're getting good information and not being fucking brainwashed by the media. You know what I mean? But then like,
yeah, absolutely.
11 to 15, I don't really have that much interest in controlling what my kid sees. Like, I would probably want to be aware of it just to make sure that, again, they're not being brainwashed or indoctrinated into any bullshit. But other than that, I'd probably let them have free reign at that point. That seems like they're fine. And the whole point of being a parent isn't to not let them see bad things. It's to, if they see bad things, explain to them what makes it bad and teach them right from wrong. So at that point, it's a learning experience. I'd have to be teaching them. I'd have to be guiding them, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my view on it.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. That seems pretty sound to me.
And I would definitely, Avatar: The Last Airbender, maybe even earlier than 11. I don't know. That seems like one of those shows where you get different joys out of it depending on your age. Because if you're really, really young, you just think like, oh wow, pretty colors, haha, Sokka is such a dork, he's funny, LOL. But then like as a teenager, maybe you start picking up on a little bit more of the messaging, and then as an adult, you're like, holy shit, Aang is like this awesome and borderline anarchist nomad, and he's trying to bring down a fascist empire. This is amazing. So yeah, like I think that that's something that you would appreciate for different reasons at different ages, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, next up we had our third question from Rotten Butter. Did you know that in Beyblade lore, Moses parted the Red Sea with a Beyblade?
Oh my Kyrie. That's fucking amazing.
I used to watch Beyblade when I was a kid. And when I say kid, I really mean like preteen and maybe even young teen. But like, I never really enjoyed playing Beyblade in real life because I tried. I really did try. I had like the little fucking plastic arena, and I had the little ripcord, and I had a little Beyblade thing. I don't know what you call them. Are they discs? I don't know what you call them. A top. It's a fucking top. But I had a few of those even, and I made little combinations and shit. And I was, it was like okay. And then like I would play against my cousins, and I beat their ass all the time. But they were 5 and 9 years younger than me, so of fucking course I did. But then like I never really got an opportunity to go against anybody that I was like in school with, so I didn't really know if I was actually good or not. And it's like, can you be good at a game that is so incredibly odd and probably luck based? I don't know, probably not. But yeah, like never really got into Beyblade's IRL. Watched the show for a brief period of time, mostly because of how fucking cool the name Dragoon is. And yeah, that was about it. Like there's like one arc of Beyblade that I vaguely remember that like if I would watch it again, I would get nostalgia about it, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it. So yeah, that's Beyblade for you. Next set of questions are from Super Blue. First up, if the ratings keep dropping like this, how screwed will WWE be if they lose their TV deals? Can I just say, we are 7 questions into 42, so it took us like a 7th of the way or a 6th of the way into this to get to our first wrestling question on a primarily pro wrestling YouTube channel. I'm so proud of you guys.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually. Hot damn.
But also, did you see this week's ratings? They're back above a 2. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening anymore.
I give up, man. I give up. I don't know what's going on either.
Mood.
Second question from Super Blue. Why is Yujiro's kneeling DDT not believable as a finisher when Bailey basically does the same thing?
Can I actually take the lead on this?
Please.
Against my better judgment, of course, given my circumstances. But because I saw this question in the Discord, and I saw what Super Blue was referencing with Takahashi pinning Okada. I feel like it's less about the finisher, because I am a believer in the Paul Heyman philosophy. If you book the move consistently, anything can be bought as a finisher. It's just the idea, though, that he did pin Okada, who like has endured some insane shit on much bigger stages, like a Wrestle Kingdom, like a King of Pro Wrestling, et cetera, et cetera. So for him to get pinned by a guy that's never been anything more than a scrub ass, even with his finish, it's just the disparity in power levels kind of leaves one a bit shell-shocked, like that blowback. That was, I think, pretty much our umbrage with it.
Was it Okada? I don't think he pinned Okada, did he?
I believe he did pin Okada, dude, because you and I were like, wow, what the fuck? Like, they're really going to keep Okada in this program.
I thought that was Goto that he pinned.
No, it was Okada. We thought Goto existed to eat the pin, but I really think it was Okada, and that's why we were so shocked.
Well, that's your answer then. That's the thing right there. That's all it like if Bailey would hit her headlock driver on, say, Asuka, I would expect Asuka to kick out at 2 99/100ths. Like, I would expect that to be a really effective false finish. But like Okada is arguably even higher up in power rankings in New Japan than Asuka is in WWE's women's division. Because we've got to remember that before Becky Lynch had to go away, Asuka was a notch below her. So, and Charlotte too. Charlotte has always been a notch above Asuka. So Asuka is like on the second tier of WWE's power rankings. Like, she's an A tier, while Becky and Charlotte were S tier as far as power rankings go. New Japan, there is only one S tier, and thy name is Okada. He is the guy. He is the man. And like, also worth noting, Bailey is kind of like right around that A tier on WWE's power rankings too, whereas Yujiro is like C tier in New Japan at best. So it really does come down to, oh yeah, by the way, gigantic power differential between these entities.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I couldn't have said it any better.
So, next question from Super Blue. This is our third question from him. Do you buy into the free training ads that show up on YouTube? I have no clue what the fuck you're talking about, dude. I don't get ads on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you here, Super Blue. Like, I saw this question and I thought you were trolling because, like, we don't buy into ads, period. Because they're ads and they're trying to sell us something that we probably don't even need. So, nah, I didn't even know that these ads were a thing. But if anything's offering free training in anything, it's probably too good to be true because somebody's always out to get something. And especially if you're like honing a skill, nobody's going to like offer an apprenticeship or a program or whatever just for free. That's completely ludicrous.
All right, fourth question from Super Blue. What the hell is going on at Fort Hood and why does it keep happening?
I think he attached an article related to this. Would you mind pulling it up and kind of walking us through? Because I think it's like deaths at Fort Hood, right? Like soldiers are being killed or whatever.
I have no goddamn clue. He asked us what the hell's going on. You can tell us. I don't. You know more than I do.
Yeah, yeah. Super Blue, your questions this month really hit different. Because between the question about the ad and Fort Hood, I was like, whoa, he's really feeling himself right now. And that's interesting.
In 2009, a U.S. Army psychiatrist killed 13 people, an unborn child, and injured 32 others in a shooting rampage. 5 years later, the U.S. Army post was struck again when a veteran killed 3 people and injured 16 others before killing himself. But today, the post, about 60 miles from Austin, Texas, is facing another series of tragedies as one service member after another turns up dead. The most notorious case is that of SPC, I don't know what that means, Vanessa Gillen, whose remains were discovered a few weeks ago, months after her disappearance. The circumstances surrounding her death prompted the Army to assemble a civilian review of the command climate and culture at Fort Hood. Besides Gillen, at least 7 soldiers stationed at Fort Hood have died or been found dead since March, including one who took his life after becoming a suspect in Gillen's disappearance. There have been 23 deaths this year among the post's 36,500 soldiers, Fort Hood officials told CNN in a statement. According to officials, the deaths include 7 off-duty accidents, 7 suicides, 1 combat-related death, 4 homicides, one of which was on base, 2 of natural causes, 1 that was undetermined pending an autopsy, and 1 drowning. Our hearts go out to the family, soldiers, and friends affected by these tragic losses, Fort Hood officials said. Here is what we know about these. Okay, I'm not going to read every single one, but apparently people are dying at this military base.
I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I think when you have what I would call mass deaths kind of, few years apart or whatever, maybe just shut the base down. In fact, maybe, while we're at it, if we're really feeling ourselves, you could just shut down the whole military-industrial complex. Just a thought, because it seems to be like a mass generator of mental illness and, PTSD and stuff like that. And also, since I think it was a woman that you named most recently, like her dismembered remains were found, we also have
that wasn't most recent. That was the first one.
Oh, that was the first one? Okay. But, I think we have to look at the intersection between, well, not intersection, because I do think they're separate things, and we need to be careful here. We need to think about how military culture is very traumatic and can cause PTSD. We need to also think about how misogyny and stuff like that is definitely in these types of cultures, because I've heard plenty of stories about female service people, either being raped or whatever, on site in these places. So, yeah, I just think the whole complex and everything that kind of feeds into it needs to be burned. That's clearly what this is all telling me, is that we just need to dismantle every last bit of it. And
can I also just say, though, like, I don't know how many people normally die at these military outposts on a yearly basis, but 23 in 8 months out of 36,500 doesn't seem like an unreasonably high number to expect.
Yeah, that's fair. The rate is a bit weird, but as far as numbers go, like, yeah, because we don't even know too. like the causes of all these deaths and everything, and what exactly is happening. Like how much of it was just, again, the trauma and the PTSD, like manifesting in a violent episode. Which I would think, though, that the violence would be more likely to be self-harm than harm against others, because we don't want to like reiterate the stigmatization of mental illness. I certainly don't want to do that.
Right.
And you have to think about, other factors too. But yeah, I don't know, man, because I've heard about Fort Hood before, but I never really thought anything of it. So I guess just tell Super
like
Bowl.
that's why I'm like, I don't really understand what's going on here that is like raising levels of like concern. People dying is never a good thing, but like if there have been 23 deaths this year among the post's 36,500 soldiers, and that's this year, so we'll say 8 months. So even if we average a death or 3 deaths a month, that would be 36 deaths on the total of the year, and that would be 0.001. So that would be 0.1% basically of the people that were there are dying, which is like okay, but like I get that there's tragedy involved in that. Any death is going to be a tragic one regardless to someone or other. But like that's such a lower death rate than even fucking COVID. Let's worry about the shit that matters now, and if this gets any worse, then we'll worry about it then. But right now, let's worry about the shit that's actually killing people at a decent rate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with Ashton. The only thing that would make me arch an eyebrow is just the particularities of these deaths. Like, for example, you said 23 deaths in 8 months. Were the 23 people, hypothetically speaking, of a certain ethnicity? Like, did they all share a certain, ethnicity?
Yeah.
Did they all share a certain background? Whatever. Then,
well, and especially too because they were all different kinds of deaths too. Because it says here there were 7 off-duty accidents, 7 suicides, 1 combat-related deaths, 4 people were murdered, one of which who was on the base, 2 people died of natural causes, and one was undetermined pending an autopsy, and 1 was drowned.
Yeah, that's way too disparate for me to like arch an eyebrow. Again, unless they all shared a similar ethnic background or what have you. And I would think, oh, is this like white supremacist violence or whatever? Is this misogynistic violence or whatever? But if that's not the case, I'm inclined to agree with Ashton that we focus on the pandemic. We focus on that alarming death rate.
Okay, see, now here, Iconic in chat seems to know a little bit more about this than we do, and even more than that article that I just had pulled up that Super Blue posted was going into. Apparently, Vanessa Gillen, which was the first woman whose remains were found, was murdered before getting a chance to testify against superior officers' sexual misconducts.
See, now that's more illuminating than anything in that article because because I knew that name sounded somewhat familiar. But yeah, when you're trying to speak out against misogynistic violence, sexual violence, and then that happens, what kind of a culture is being upheld at Fort Hood? See, that's where we get into more pertinent
Which
stuff,
is also where we get into, okay, John, I'm just going to sign on with you. Shut the whole fucking thing down.
Yeah, pretty much. Shut the whole fucking thing down if that's the culture you're upholding. And I find it very interesting that an article would focus on that. Like, oh, isn't it weird, all this stuff that's happening? When it's like, yeah, you know what else is weird? This misogyny that like is putting all these women at fucking risk when they want to serve. And plus, again, just in general, fuck the military industrial complex.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? That's a succinct way to put it. Now you can hop on your computer and we can finish this thing out.
Apparently it's going to be a bit later than that because I just tried to hop on and it's still whatever. So I guess we're still going to have to keep going on this.
What? I'll check again. I thought you said it was 7:50.
And I guess I was wrong. So we have to keep going on this. Let's keep it going. What's the next question?
Okay. Next up. 5th and final question for me. From Super Blue, I should say, and it is for me. How do you feel about football being played in a pandemic? How would you handle it? I wouldn't do it. I would literally shut the whole thing down. Like, and especially because like now the MLB and NBA are protesting. They aren't playing their games. They're protesting the shooting that just happened in, I think it was in Minnesota, right, John?
Yeah, I want to say that you're right about that. That it was Minnesota. Yeah, I think. I think.
Because it was Jacob Blake.
Yes.
It was in Wisconsin. Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so the MLB and the NBA are already protesting that. I can't imagine that NFL players wouldn't want to have a say in that as well. And that, like, if more shit like this keeps happening, there are going to keep being professional athlete protests. We've got a pandemic going on. You're safer not to have games anyway. So, like, I just feel like everything adding up, they should just seriously just straight up say, okay, the season's canceled. We'll see you next fall. Like, that's how I would handle it. You would literally just, okay, just eat your losses. Just cut your losses. Just be done with it. Just, okay, we tried. We wanted to. It's not working out. We'll try again next year. Hopefully things are under control by then. And there you go. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do because I know all these billionaire fucks look at their bottom line and they're just like, oh no, it's going to be less positive this year? No, I can't. No, you can't do this to me. Now I'm gonna have to downgrade my private jet. No. But like, at the end of the day, human life over capital, please. Cancel it. End it. It's over. Stop.
Pretty much, yeah.
Next set of questions are from Craig Skiff. First up, who are your top 5 Lucha Underground wrestlers of all time?
Number 1, Johnny Mundo, obviously. Number 2, I would say Dante Fox. 3, Prince Puma. 4, Mil Muertes. And I'm going to say 5, King Cuerno.
Nice. For me, I'm going to say 1, Mil Muertes, 2, Prince Puma, 3, Killshot, 4, Phoenix, and 5, Johnny Mundo.
Excellent. Next question.
Next question. Seconds from Craig. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much will you be looking forward to Thunder Rosa versus Hikaru Shida for the AEW World Women's Championship at AEW All Out?
That actually gives me more interest in the card besides the world title match between Moxley and MJF. I think Thunder Rosa, she's a fucking sweetheart, first of all. Second of all, she's very talented. I think she deserves a bigger audience to be in front of her, a bigger platform. I know audience sounds weird given that we're in a pandemic. Hikaru Shida has been, from what I've, seen, a very solid talent. Glad that she's the champion. Could be a fun one. Got no complaints about that.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much will you be looking forward to it?
I'd say about a 7.5.
Same. That's the exact number I had in my mind.
Yeah, it should be good, man. It should be good.
All right, third question from Craig. Would the paradigm shift being banished from the match with MJF at All Out be what it takes for MJF to beat Jon Moxley for the world title?
It might be. I mean, I don't want to give the game away, seeing as how we are previewing All Out, right?
Yep. Next Thursday.
Yeah, we're previewing All Out this Thursday, and I mean, we are actually covering the Go Home show. Next Thursday. We are in this Thursday right now. Yeah. Next Thursday, we're previewing All Out, and we're actually covering the Go Home show, much to my own surprise, since I told Ashton I was okay with doing it. So I don't want to give the game away, but every little bit helps a heel that's desperate for gold. So we'll see how it pans out for MJF.
All right, fourth question from Craig Skiff. Which NFL team do you... Oh, I think this is going to be just for me, actually. Did I... Yeah, it is just for me. So let me actually just change that then. There we go. Which NFL team do you think is a sleeper pick to make the 2020 NFL playoffs? How about the Miami Dolphins, Craig? How does that sound? I think the Miami Dolphins have a legitimate shot to go 9-7, maybe 10-6 if they play well enough. And in the AFC East, that might be good enough to win that division. I don't know. I think the Bills are definitely the team that presents the biggest threat. Although, I don't know, the Patriots and Cam Newton are probably going to present a threat too, but I do feel like the Dolphins have an outside shot. I think for the AFC, I'll say the Dolphins. For the NFC, I'll say the Cardinals. So those are going to be my two sort of sleeper picks for the playoffs. Cardinals and the Dolphins. I hope that satisfies you. Next up, our fifth and final question from Craig is for you and only you, John. If AOC runs for president in 2028, could she become the Democratic nominee and perhaps even our 48th U.S. president?
Yes to the nominee, no to the president. I don't see it happening. I think she is a solid candidate ideologically. I mean, I have my qualms with AOC the same way I did Bernie. We have to understand what progressive means in a U.S. context. It really is just welfare capitalist. It's making capitalism more palatable for the working class and the poor in the U.S. But I think if white women, and especially white women of the establishment, as much as like Hillary Clinton say, couldn't get the presidency, there's no way a woman of color, especially when the country's moved so far right, who's going to be demonized and labeled as like this radical postmodern neo-Marxist. See, I used all the buzzwords there. There's no way she's going to get to the presidency. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think this country's become so right-wing that unless we would shift the other way, which we could, we could actually still see a boon of radicalization for the left with the pandemic and a possible homelessness crisis, because I keep hearing that 28 million would go homeless, but I feel like that was supposed to happen last month and then the month before that. So we'll have to see where that goes. But I feel like we're so far right and we're still a white supremacist nation that if we couldn't even get on the ballot, white women like Warren and Clinton, there's no way to me. There is no way AOC gets the presidency, no matter how good she is ideologically, no matter how likable she is. Well, likability might actually help. Because if we had more time and if I was on my computer, I would want to eat up some time to share with you guys some studies that I read in Kate Mann's book entitled.
I was going to say, did you maybe want to try and get on your computer again at 8?
I wanted to try that. I'm beginning to think that it might not be till 8:30, honestly. So we'll have to wait and see. But I will try. No harm in still trying. But yeah, just to keep it concise, I guess, because I don't really have the means to really go into this. I don't think she has a chance in hell of becoming president. Nominee, yes. President, no way.
Dude, it's so funny that you say that because I feel the literal exact opposite. I feel like there is a slim to zero chance of AOC becoming the nominee before 2032. And even then, I think the chance is still slim, but I would say that's the first year that she has any shot whatsoever. But I also feel like if she would ever become the nominee, she'd be a fucking lock to be president. Like, if the Democratic Party would actually get behind her and actually support her the way that the Republican Party rallied around Trump in 2016 after spending the entire nomination cycle shitting on him and saying, oh, he's an outsider, we can't let him get the nomination, and then he wins it, and they all fucking bent the knee. If the Democratic Party would do that same thing for AOC, should she rightfully earn the nomination, it would be a fucking lock. Because you would have the political power and the fucking constituency of that like centrist, quote unquote liberal, quote unquote democratic base, combining with the enthusiasm and the fiery fury of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and their base. They would win in a fucking landslide. I genuinely believe that they would win probably over 55% of the total national vote. Genuinely believe that. If AOC is on the ticket, I genuinely believe that, yes, she is our next president. But the problem is, I don't think that she's ever going to be on the ticket. I don't ever think that the DNC is ever going to allow that to happen. I don't think that corporate Democrats are ever going to relent their positions of power to somebody who is so openly and blatantly anti-corporation.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, because I was even going to say, if you didn't, that like that's a big ask. Like everybody kind of coalescing around AOC. I just don't see that happen. Because like, dude, you know what how shit this country is, and this is something I wanted to bring up too, because I'm glad that Craig asked about AOC. If fucking Biden and Harris, who every time a right-wing pundit is like, we can't let these Marxists take the White House, I have to stifle the fucking laughter, right? Because it's just so bad. If they lose in November, if we even have an election in November, because things just keep getting worse, you know what the Democratic think tanks and everything are going to say. We went too far left. We need to even be more centrist, or we need to be even more moderate, or whatever. Like, they're going to see something in the Biden-Harris campaign that they're going to interpret as too far left. And they're going to be like, oh, we need, like, they would try and, like, convert John fucking Kasich into a Democrat and run him. Because, like people have been saying, the Democrats are really Republican light. Like, that's what Democrats will stand for in 2020. That there's no way you get an even remotely progressive candidate. And if FDR were alive today, they'd laugh him out of the fucking building.
All right, next question. Next set of questions, actually, from Noob & Co. First question from Noob & Co. Do you think Asuka and Alexa Bliss need a change in character moving forward post SummerSlam?
No, because I think Alexa is going to have a change in character with whatever's going on with her, and Asuka's amazing as she is. I would not tinker with what's good. The only change I would want is the Kana that was teased, I feel like, at least by her on Twitter, you know, with all this stuff. That would be the only change I would make with Asuka, and even then, that change would be for a really personal, like, blood feud. And then I
that she should have had with Bayley.
Yeah, that she should have had with Bayley. Precisely. Yeah.
So let's just move on from that question, because I'm just going to sign on to what you said. Second question from Noob & Co. What are your thoughts on Sarii competing in Japan as a WWE affiliate? Which promotion in Japan will she be in?
I think I mean, it really depends on your interests, right? If you're a big WWE fan and you really get excited about the prospect of them growing, you know, you have to love it. You have to love that you have representatives in Japan, you know, working with other promotions and kind of being, in a way, kind of a quasi-ambassador, because if you're a good performer and you have good relations, well, I'm tied to this company, that reflects nicely on the company, right? But if you're like me, where you don't necessarily hate the WWE, although I am feeling a lot of hatred for what they're putting out right now, but, like, you know, you're happy they exist, you're happy they employ people, you're happy that they make wrestling, but you don't like how big they are, what a monopoly they are. You don't want a monopoly to become even more of a monopoly. You know, you don't want the tentacles to kind of reach out and curl themselves around other countries and other territories. So I think it's always a cause to be wary. But Sarii is a great talent from what I've seen, because I saw, like, one highlight video of her. I really liked how she worked. I want to see more of her, actually. And yeah, I was picking up what she was laying down. So
she's pretty young too, dude. I don't know if you know this, but she's pretty young too. I think she's only like 25 years old.
Yeah, that's exciting as fuck. That's
really I just cool. Googled her. She's 24 years old.
That, again, exciting as fuck. Big time. So yeah, if that's what they're gonna do, like, where she's just gonna be this representative for now wrestling in Japan. And you said, what promotions will she wrestle for? I mean, probably not Stardom, because again, I would see Bushiroad as a legitimate competitor.
Diana.
Yeah. You don't think TJPW is on the table, do you?
No.
Yeah. So
I know that she wrestled TJPW on the January 4th show this year, but I think that was also like her going away tour, like she was leaving Japan at that point because she knew that she was going to be signing with WWE. But yeah, I don't think that she's going to be. Thing is, Bushiroad and Cyber Agent are both pretty much no places for anyone affiliated with WWE, so I don't think that there's a chance that she'll work either one of those places, Stardom or TJPW.
Yeah, I mean, you're more an authority, I think, between the two of us on Joshi wrestling and that whole landscape, so I'll just defer to you on that. But yeah, I'm very excited to see Sarii, you know, soon enough. I think she could really make waves.
Yeah. Waves. Maybe she'll work for Pro Wrestling Wave, too. Third and final question from Noob & Co. Do you think Big E will be WWE champion? I sure as fuck hope so.
You and me both, man. I think there's genuine money, and I know people have been suggesting this, in a Roman Reigns Big E matchup for the Universal Championship. And I'm like, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I definitely think Big E can be a world champion. I'm going to say something here, and it's going to get some flack. Kofi had an amazing story because he put 11 years in the company and stuff like that, and he was always, the workhorse, kept his head down, did whatever was asked. But I think Big E's more charismatic than Kofi for me personally. So I think he could be an even more successful world champion by my estimation. I think a Big E world title run would be a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to happen as well.
Yeah. Plus, he's got more of a believable look, too. Like, with Kofi, you were never going to believe that he was going to beat Brock Lesnar, but Big E, I probably could believe that he could beat Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I think it would still be a struggle, and it'd probably be more of a struggle than, say, Drew, who beat him in 5 minutes at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But I do think he could pull out the win. I think it'd be that nice combination of believability, but still an underdog, and it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next set of questions. We got 2 from Alonzo J, a.k.a. Ace the Skylord. First up, cut a promo on the mental gymnastics certain wrestling journalists do when it comes to the Wednesday Night Wars.
I mean, I'm just going to be honest, promo or not. I mean, I don't know if you'll count this as a promo, but, like, I don't want to say who gives a shit because obviously people do because there's a market for it. But, like, I almost feel like it's less unbiased coverage and more there are journalists, like, enlisting for each faction. Like, I'm gonna prop up AEW and use my brand, my pulpit, right, to uplift AEW, and other people do it for WWE, like Ryan Satin and stuff. And it's like, that's fine, but at least be honest about it. I think when you try and pander and like come off as like, oh, we're unbiased, we're calling it down the middle, like I just find that a bit suspect. And the whole idea of a Wednesday Night War, I mean, look, let me tell you something, guys. When I would always hear about the Monday Night Wars between Raw and Nitro, I always used to hear about crazy stuff happening. Lex Luger crossing brands, Goldberg being undefeated and winning the title, Mankind winning the title, which was dropped on, that episode of Nitro. You don't see any of that craziness right now. NXT isn't acknowledging AEW, nor do I think they should. AEW is dropped hints at WWE, and I don't think they should. I think that's a very similar attitude that TNA used to make. They used to mention WWE, and it's like you're reminding your audience, oh, yeah, that other product exists. I wonder what they're doing. So I don't feel that war mentality. And especially because, like, I don't see any risk-taking. But, again, I don't really watch AEW that much, so maybe it's not fair. But I don't see a lot of risk-taking. I don't see a lot of, like, oh, what's one way you could really stab them? Fucking Nitro had Medusa go and drop the women's title in a garbage can. Where do you see that kind of program or whatever? And then when you talk about journalists, and the mental gymnastics, to me, it's just sad because you're just talking about numbers. Like, that's all you're talking about. And, like, yeah, AEW seems to have a strong core demo. That's that. I really don't see what the bigger issue is here. And I guess for me what it comes down to is they're making a far bigger production out of it than it actually is. I just kind of roll my eyes at it. How do you feel?
I think you just kind of need to learn which reporters or which journalists or whatever you want to call them have which biases and take that into account. I think realistically, that all this discussion has kind of led me to the conclusion that Sean Ross Sapp is probably the most objective journalist and, like, arguably even the best journalist that wrestling has to offer right now. Because Meltzer is always going to favor AEW because he has guys that he likes and that are his friends that are there. Fucking, what's the guy's name that used to work for BuzzFeed, John? I forget his name.
I forget his name as well.
You mentioned him earlier.
Oh, Ryan Satin?
Yeah, Ryan Satin. Ryan Satin is obviously always going to be biased in WWE's favor because he's literally on their payroll. They pay him. So yeah, like, I really do think that Sean Ross Sapp right now is just kind of the best going. If you want to get your news, 2 things. You could either A, just go straight to Fightful and get it from them, or B, you could literally just go anywhere you want and trace whatever stories are being called news back to their source. And if the source is Meltzer, make sure that it's reporting on facts and not just him giving his opinion on what might happen. And if it's sourced back to some bullshit garbage that is like, oh, in this writer's opinion, then disregard it completely. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think you summarized it quite well. Next question.
So next up, we got this was our second question from Alonzo from Ace. Why did WWE? Oh Jesus! Why did WWE think that a giant Zoom call would be an adequate replacement for crowds? And then he added in a reply to his own question, you can use this as an opportunity to complain about all the horrible shit that some quote unquote fans have shown on the screens, like, you know, the KKK rally, the execution, Chris Benoit, all that stuff.
Yeah. Fuck, we're in it now, right? Like we've been in this for like over an hour.
Yeah.
How long before you think somebody's gonna do like a live sex or whatever, like on their fucking cam or whatever? Like they're gonna find a way. Like the people are so fucking persistent and headstrong and like ruining the experience for other people. And I will say, and this is the only time I may say this unironically, I do feel a bit bad for the company here because I think they really did want to do something different and they did want to get fans back into the experience in a more intimate way. But of course, other people are just going to be like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to be an asshole. Better not waste it. Which really sucks. Now, me personally, though, I'm still of the opinion you shouldn't be running shows. And like, yeah, you should just be in national solidarity with what needs to be done. Fucking quarantine, stuff like that, mass testing, whatever. If you're a business and you're operating, you're always going to run the risk of spreading infection. And, you know, WWE's already had positive COVID cases. And they're lucky that they've had, you know, talent come back. They're lucky that Ric Flair didn't contract it in his time there, you know? So the answer, I think, to me always is just don't be operating. But if they are going to operate, I know their struggle of like, well, how do we get the fans to feel like they're more a part of the experience? This was an idea they thought of. I'll never fault a company for trying anything new because you've got to try things to learn about them. And I don't know if they can pull the plug or not. I think it kind of sucks for everybody else that does like it, that a few fans could ruin it. But if you don't have proper checks and balances and you don't have a proper vetting system, what are you going to do?
It's just, honestly, I kind of figured they would have this kind of problem. We actually were taking bets in the Discord in the wrestling discussion channel. How many dicks are going to be on these screens on the first episode of Raw? And I set the over underline at 2.5, and Craig took the over. Granted, I don't think there actually were any visible dicks on the screens, but there were still far worse things visible on the screens than a human penis.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody told me there was an ISIS execution, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, these fucking trolls have no goddamn chill. What the fuck? So, yeah, that's where we're at right now, guys.
Yeah. It's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. Next question, though. We only have one question from Alex Cage, and he wants to know who we think did better, Dominic or Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee to me. I was far more engaged by his performance.
Yeah, I'm trying to be fair to Dominic because he did have a better debut than I think I expected, and I think than a lot of people expected, and I think than most people have. Like, if I were to rate Dominic's debut as far as his in-ring performance against Seth, and then his in-ring performance the next night on Raw in the main event, if I were to rate his debut between those two performances on a scale of 1 to 10, up against every other first match in a major company ever, it's like a solid 7 out of 10. It was really good. Problem is, Pat McAfee's was like a fucking 9.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
So definitely McAfee, but props to Dominic for being way better than I expected him to be. Next set of questions, though, are from Mark. And John, I'm just going to let you know, these are literally all NXT TakeOver related as a way to kind of bring in or celebrate the fact that we just got through our 30th ever NXT TakeOver. So the first up is, what are your 5 favorite NXT championship matches to happen at a TakeOver?
I wish I could remember these takeovers. So I may need to have you like Google and stuff, since obviously I don't have my computer on hand at the moment. Tyson Kidd versus Neville. That was really good from their first matchup. That was really good. I want to say that was a rival, but I'm not too sure. Obviously, Andrade Drew. That was fucking great. That might actually be my favorite, only because I don't think we were expecting a title change at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I was literally going to say Andrade Drew and Andrade Gargano are the top two that I want to mention.
Same. You and I have the exact same top two, no doubt. I already said to start, Kidd, Neville.
Ciampa Dream?
Ciampa Dream was good. Yeah, Ciampa Dream. I mean, fuck Dream now, but that was literally my match of the year, so that'd probably be number 3 for me. That was so good. Let me think here. So that was 3, and then
the four-way match. I believe it was Neville, Zayn, Breeze, Kidd.
You know what? I would say that was a good match, but I'll actually say Zayn Neville from that one takeover where it looked like Zayn was going to use the title, and then he just
dude, that was our Evolution.
Our Evolution will come in at number 4 for me. Yeah. So, Kidd Neville at 5, Sammy Neville at 4, Dream Ciampa 3, Gargano Andrade 2, Andrade Drew number 1, just for the upset.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Andrade Drew, Andrade Gargano, Zayn Neville. Zayn Owens.
Okay.
And shit. I'm gonna have to Google. There's a specific one I'm trying to remember. Because I know who the champion was, I'm just trying to remember who the opponent was. No, that wasn't it. Oh. See, so it wasn't what I thought it was. Never mind. You said champion name. Oh, wait, here it is. Okay, Ciampa Black from TakeOver Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah, good shit.
Okay, there we go. All right, next question. 5 least favorite NXT Championship matches. Can I just say all the Bobby Roode ones?
Yeah, I was going to say either all the Bobby Roode ones or just the Finn Balor Samoa Joe feud, because that really like ran its course after a while, I feel like.
So that would have been TakeOver Dallas was the Finn Joe one.
Okay.
It was TakeOver Dallas and then TakeOver the End.
Okay.
And then TakeOver Brooklyn 2, which was the one after that, was Nakamura Joe. And then the one after that was McIntyre beating Roode. Wait, no, that's not right. That was the year after. I'm looking at... Oh, there we go, Toronto. Another Joe Nakamura. And then that was when Roode beat Nakamura. God, Nakamura, you could have gotten so much better in life.
Yeah.
Fuck, Balor Joe went 3 takeovers, dude.
Yeah, it was excessive as fuck, bro.
Oh my god. Oh man. I'll say Balor Owens, actually, from TakeOver Brooklyn, has got to be in my bottom 5, because that was like the first time that we ever felt like a world title match got really just BTFO by an undercard match, because that was the same show as Sasha Bailey.
Yeah, I don't even really remember the ladder match where.
Yep.
I still recall spots from Sasha Bailey.
Yep.
So.
The only thing I remember from the ladder match is the coup de grace off the ladder.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going to say that is going to be in my bottom 5 for sure. Have you already listed your bottom 5, or are we kind of working through this still?
I feel like we're kind of, fuck. I guess I would say Rude versus Nakamura because you weren't kidding about like all the Rude ones. Although I do think Rude versus Hideo was pretty good.
Are you just gonna say? Are you just gonna say all 3 Balor Joe matches?
Yeah, I really wasn't into that feud. So all 3 Balor Joe matches, Rude Nakamura, and there was another NXT Championship match. And really, Cross
Nakamura
Lee.
Joe.
Nakamura Joe, yeah, but you know what? I think I'll put Cross Lee because I feel like that match should have been so much better.
Oh my god, yeah, that's definite. Yeah, that's a second one for me for sure. So my 2 that I have so far are Cross Lee and Balor Owens from TakeOver Brooklyn. Yeah, that's such an easy choice. You're so right about that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what though? I'm also gonna add both Cole Gargano matches because I fucking hated both of them.
That's right, you did. That's perfect for you, yeah.
And it wasn't even like, oh, this match is bad. It was literally just like, this match is trying too hard to do too much, and Johnny Gargano is in. Like, that's literally the feud that made me not like Johnny Gargano. That's the feud that made me turn on Gargano.
Yeah, I don't blame you whatsoever. Those matches were excessive as fuck. Oh my god.
Yeah, they were miserable. I hated them. So that's 4. So we have those 2 matches: Lee Cross and Owens Balor. Trying to think of what other Takeover World Title matches have annoyed me or made me angry. It's not really easy because they are usually pretty good. Let's see. That was a good match, even if I wasn't happy with the finish. Yeah, God, Ciampa Gargano went on forever, didn't it?
It did. I was thinking about maybe putting their last man standing match in my favorite title matches, but there were other ones that I think just blew that out of the water. I love the finish to that, though.
You know what? I'm going to say Rude Nakamura from TakeOver. I think Philly? Was it Philly or Orlando?
I want to say Orlando. Could be wrong about that, though.
Oh, jeez, dude. What about Rude Itami? That match was so bad it turned Itami heel.
I actually enjoyed it. That's why I didn't put it on there. Like, before the heel turn, which I didn't agree with, I was really into that matchup, and I thought there were some great hope spots and counters, like, on both sides. That was one of Rude's more palatable defenses, but, yeah, I could understand why it's not everybody's cup of tea.
I distinctly remember a Rude Nakamura match happening in January that I hated. Oh, here it is. It was TakeOver San Antonio. So it'll be that one. It'll be the 2 out of 3 falls match between Cole and Gargano. That was the one that Cole won. It'll be the Cole Gargano match where Gargano initially won the title that I fucking hated because he had to overcome like all this interference and he took a high-low and just kicked out of it like it was like, yeah, that whole match pissed me off. Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor from TakeOver Brooklyn. Lee versus Cross from the most recent TakeOver, TakeOver 30. And Nakamura versus Rude from TakeOver San Antonio. There's my 5.
Nice. Next question.
Well, it doesn't get any different. 5 favorite NXT Women's Championship matches on takeovers.
Bailey Sasha from Brooklyn's #1 for me, easy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that as well as Sasha versus Becky from TakeOver Unstoppable.
Yeah, that would be #2 for me as well.
Kairi Sane from it was the TakeOver after Evolution, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh.
Not after, before Evolution. Was it Brooklyn?
Was that? Well, it was Brooklyn. Before it was Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with that as well because I was going to put that on there just because, again, of the upset, very similar to Andrade Drew.
Yeah.
Let me think.
Brooklyn 4. It was Brooklyn 4.
I feel like one of the Paige Emma matches should get a nod because
Well, there was only one. There was only one Paige Emma match on a takeover, and it wasn't actually on a takeover either. It was on Arrival.
Okay. Fuck, man.
What about Shayna Mia? Would you consider that?
I wouldn't. Oh, because he said takeovers. I personally like Bianca Shayna. I'll put that on my list because that was a good match. As well as, you know what? I'll round it out with the Fatal 4-Way. Bianca, Kyrie, Io, and Shayna. I thought that was a lot of fun. I mean, that double KOD spot was sick. So, yeah, I'll give that as well to round my list out.
This is really, really difficult for me because... Oh, you know what? Is it really, though? Because I think I might actually still have something saved from a while ago. Let's see. Trying to remember when I did these. Is that it? No. Just give me a minute, guys. Just give me a minute. John, if you want to talk about anything in the meantime, please.
Oh, absolutely, brother. I'll give you all the time you need. So, yeah, guys, I mean, the Fatal 4-Way was fantastic. Because we got to remember, too, besides the double KOD, I love that Bianca and Kyrie always had that blowing the kiss spot, but Kyrie actually caught it like a baseball, curled it all up, and then pitched it to Io, and she knocked it out of the park. Shayna, of course, was a beast. Kyrie Shayna was such an emotional matchup because Shayna just seemed unbeatable, and I didn't want to see Kyrie get choked out. So for her to win the title was so cool. And then her very brief title reign was just.
I found what I was looking for.
Okay, awesome. You go.
Yeah, so my top 5 TakeOver women's matches of all time are Sasha Becky from TakeOver Unstoppable, Sasha Bailey from TakeOver Brooklyn, Bailey Sasha Iron Man match from TakeOver Respect, Charlotte Sasha Becky Bailey from, I think, TakeOver Our Evolution, maybe? Shit, I gotta look. Fuck. God damn it.
So, yeah, Sasha Bailey, I mean, especially with what we heard, I guess, from the WWE Untold, which I have not formally watched, but I should probably make it a point to.
It was Rival. It was TakeOver Rival. TakeOver Rival is what it was. It was the show that Sasha won the title. Hello? John, I can't hear you anymore. Oh, he hung up. I bet you he's going to call back from his computer. There it is.
Can you hear me now?
You are on your computer?
No, I'm not.
What?
Yeah, I'm not on my computer right now. I'm still on my tablet.
You sound so different, though. What?
Dude, this fucking app. Yeah, because you were like, you couldn't hear me again, and I'm like, I'm literally not dealing with this, so I just thought I'd call you back immediately. And yeah, here I am.
Dude, I really thought you were on your computer there. You sounded so much better.
Dude, the hope in your voice. You're on your computer. I almost didn't want to take it away from you, but I'm like, so who's going to tell him?
Okay, let me get back to my rankings. So I have Sasha Becky from TakeOver Unstoppable, Sasha Bailey from TakeOver Brooklyn, Sasha Bailey from TakeOver Respect, Sasha Bailey Charlotte Becky from TakeOver Rival, and then Kyrie Shayna from TakeOver Brooklyn 3. There we go. That's my 5.
That sounds amazing. So I guess let's get on to our next question.
Which is the bottom 5? 5 least favorite NXT women's title matches at takeovers.
How long was Charlotte champion? Fuck.
Not as long as you'd expect, actually.
I think I'll put the first Shayna Ember matchup on there because I really didn't care for that, and I felt like it made Shayna look kind of stupid. And then I think, god damn, fuck, this is really hard for me, actually. So Shayna Ember, the first one. I think Kyrie losing to Shayna. Well, no, that was Evolution, not a takeover. Well, actually, no, I'll still say Kyrie Shayna because that 2 out of 3 falls matchup in the finish, I didn't really care for it. Fuck. Asuka Bailey wasn't that great when Asuka won the title. I don't remember it being that great.
I remember that being frustrating because it still felt very much like Asuka was being kind of built up as a almost like a heel, or as a face. I mean, she was being built up as a big time face, and then she beat the biggest face in the company, like cleanly, and it was like I think it killed some of her babyface momentum.
Yeah, brother, I'm going to hang up here because I do have access to my computer. I'm going to call you back on my computer, okay?
Hooray!
So just give me a second.
Get ready for another Facebook call sound, you guys. You know what it is. You know what, though, Mark? I know that Nia was in... There's John. Let me answer that real quick. There we go. Hello.
Welcome, everybody, to the actual sound of my voice in good quality.
Hey.
So, yeah, Bailey Asuka, and this is my computer this time. You're not being misled.
Yeah.
Asuka Bailey was incredibly frustrating. You know what? Bailey Nia in England, TakeOver London, that was a bit much. I really didn't care for that either. How many did I list? Was that 5? I might have listed 5.
I don't know how many you listed, actually. That's a good question. You should...
Bailey Asuka, Bailey Nia, Shayna Ember, Kyrie Shayna 2 out of 3 falls, so I think that's 4. So I need a 5th one. God damn it. And you know what? I think I will list Mia Shayna. Or no, yeah, Mia Shayna. Mia Shayna works. We'll just do that.
Okay, so... I have a few in mind that I know I didn't like. Bailey Asuka 1 actually being one of them, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. But I also remember not liking Asuka versus Ruby versus Nikki, the triple threat.
Yeah.
As well as Asuka versus Nia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you for that either. That was pretty rough.
Yeah. There are just a few more takeovers that I want to look over and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. I don't know if Io Shirai is capable of having a bad match, so I can't really list her for anything. I remember getting upset about the Shayna Mia match, but I don't remember thinking it was a bad match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Yeah. In your house. Ugh, for fuck's sakes.
What did you say?
Charlotte being on an NXT takeover is just gross in 2020.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like there haven't really been any takeover matches over the last couple of years that have, over the last year and a half, I should say, that have really annoyed me. But I'm gonna say the 3 that I already mentioned: Bailey, Asuka Ruby, Nikki, and then Asuka Nia. I'm also gonna toss in Asuka versus Mickie James. I don't know if you remember that, but that match kind of was mediocre especially for an Asuka match at this point.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually.
But my number 1 least favorite NXT TakeOver women's match of all time, and probably the only one that I can objectively say that I disliked and actively did not enjoy while we were watching it, was Shayna Baszler versus Nikki Cross.
Yeah, that's a good one. I actually forgot about a lot of these matches, so I think that's what makes them so perfect for your list. Yeah, good shit.
Yeah, that one was fucking brutal. And that was TakeOver New York, I want to say? No, that was the 4-way. Was it TakeOver 25? No, that was EO. What TakeOver was that? Was it War Games? No, it couldn't have been War Games, right? No, that was Kyrie. We already talked about how great that was. Kyrie won at Brooklyn 4. When was the Shayna? There it is. There it is. I found it. TakeOver Chicago 2. The one blemish on that show, probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there you go. Next, final question from Mark. 5 favorite takeovers.
I mean, Brooklyn was magical because not only did we get Sasha Bailey, where Bailey won the title, but also I was a big Vaudevillains fan at the time, and they won the NXT tag titles.
Thanks to Blue Pants.
Thanks to fucking Blue Pants. So, yeah, I'll have to go with that. God, I feel like there were some takeovers. The first War Games, I think, was very special because it was fucking War Games, and we were all like, oh, you know, what's going to happen here? I'm trying to think. There have been so many takeovers.
Takeover Philadelphia.
Takeover Philadelphia. I mean, just for that title match alone, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was, well, plus that was the Dream Ono match that we really enjoyed.
What was the takeover?
Because remember, dude, that was the show where Dream was like taunting Ono, like he came out wearing like boxing shorts, and he was talking about how he was going to knock Ono out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we also had Ember versus Shayna on that show, and that was the Ember retention, finally. Plus, we also had Black Cole on that match, the one where Cole did the frickin' Fireman's Carry, Aleister Black, or actually it was the other way around. It was the Extreme Rules match, though, where Black dropped Cole back first onto the backs of 2 set-up chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was brutal. And that was also a pretty solid AOP versus Undisputed Era tag match. I remember really liking Philadelphia. And then both Chicagos, I think, are going to be on my top 5. Because the first Chicago, we had Dunn Bate, which is a classic. Asuka Nikki Ruby was, you know, it's in my bottom 5. That Rudy Tommy match that you mentioned loving, but then also that big triple threat ladder match for the tag titles that led to Ciampa turning on Gargano.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then the second takeover Chicago, if I remember correctly, might have actually been better than the first, because the second takeover Chicago, we had Undisputed Era versus Lorcan and Birch, which was where like Lorcan and Birch went into that match getting booed, and by the end of it, the crowd was fully behind them, and they got a standing ovation after losing. Then we had Ricochet Dream. Shayna Nikki was obviously the blemish on it, but the only blemish really, because then Black Sullivan was pretty good, and then Ciampa Gargano Chicago Street Fight was excellent, so that's up there too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you made a lot of strong points. I pretty much co-signed all of it, honestly.
So I'm going to say, no, I want to say our Evolution is way, way, way up there. I still have fond memories of our Evolution. That was amazing.
Yeah.
New Orleans is always going to hold a special place in my heart, because that was the unsanctioned match with Gargano beating Ciampa. Aleister won the title. Undisputed Era versus AOP versus Dunn and Strong, where Roderick joined the Undisputed Era. Shayna Ember, Shayna winning the title, and the North American ladder match, the first ever, North American title match. Adam Cole being crowned the first ever. Like, that whole show, top to bottom, you can't find a flaw,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, did we ever solidify a top 5 for you, or are we still kind of working through this?
I mean, I was just going to co-sign on to what you said, because that seemed really agreeable to me. I really...
But
there
I
have been so
haven't
many...
settled on one for myself.
Damn. I really thought you were, though, because you were listing all these off. I guess Brooklyn for number 1. Because, again, that was just I think that was the first
and
takeover.
That's why we're different, though, because I don't think that the original Brooklyn is necessarily going to make my list.
I just feel like the original Brooklyn, I think for me, was kind of the moment where I'm like, wow, these takeovers really have the chance to be something special. And then beyond that, there were fucking 30 of them. Jesus Christ.
That's why we got to pick 5.
I really, really do not care for these lists. Fuck. So Brooklyn would be number 1 for me. Then I guess 2, because I'm trying to think. Well, again, like I said, the first War Games, TakeOver War Games for 4. So I did say some things here, or 2, excuse me. 3. Fucking 3. What takeover was Dream Black at?
Dream Black. Oh, I think that was in November.
God, these questions are pissing me off too, because it reminds me when I was a Velveteen Dream fan, and I really hate that like he ruined it. So way to fucking go.
I want to say that was later in the year. Let me see here. Dream, that was EC3. Black Dream, there it is. TakeOver War Games 2017. So that had Lars Sullivan versus Cassius Ohno, Aleister Black versus Velveteen Dream, Ember, Kyrie, Nikki, Peyton, four-way for the Women's Championship after Asuka had to vacate it because she moved up. Andrade beating Drew. So that's, yeah. And then we had the actual War Games match, which was the one with, it was Undisputed Era versus AOP and Roddy versus Sanity. So that was the crazy, yeah. Like that was...
Honestly, I might flip it. I might make the first War Games running down that whole card as my favorite takeover, and then Brooklyn, the first Brooklyn at 4. Then 3, I think, would be, I guess, War Games 2, because that was Dream Champa, which was my match of the year.
Yeah.
Plus,
I think that the second War Games show also had the best War Games match out of all of the War Games matches that we've seen in recent years from NXT.
Yeah. So that'll be 3, or, well, yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, that was the one where we got the Ricochet double moonsault.
Yeah, I believe you're right about that.
Yeah. That was Dunn, Ricochet, and the War Raiders versus all 4 members of UE. Yeah, that was awesome.
So that'll be 3. Fourth for me would be, God damn it, probably the one with Zayn winning the title against Neville, because that heel turn by Kevin Owens.
That was our evolution. That was our evolution.
Our evolution will be 4, and then 5 for me to round this out mercifully so that you can get on. Is this Mark's last question, by the way?
Yes.
Thank fuck. So the 5th one will be, because lists just fucking burn me out mentally. It's just so much to think about. But the 5th one will be, you know what? What was the takeover? Unless it wasn't a takeover because it might have been a rival. Which one was the Sammy Cesaro matchup that was really fucking good?
That was a rival. That wasn't a takeover.
That doesn't count. God damn it. Fuck. So annoying. What match was fucking Cole Black again? That Extreme Rules match? What takeover was that?
I think that was Philadelphia. Let me look one more time.
Yeah, you know what? Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That's perfect, because that was Andrade Gargano.
Yeah. That was Black Cole Extreme Rules. That was Andrade Gargano. Yeah, and then there was also Ember, her first defense against Shayna where she retained. Dream Ono, where Dream talked about he was going to knock Ono out in the first 30 seconds, and he came out in like the boxing shorts and shit. And Undisputed Era versus Authors of Pain for the tag titles. That was that whole card.
You know what? I can go with that, because again, like sometimes for me, I'm going to pick a takeover just simply based on how strong the main event was, or like the main matches were. And Gargano Andrade was insane. Like this was still at the time where I thought Gargano could have been a Bryan level babyface.
Yeah.
And that really didn't age well. But it was still a great fucking match. So yeah.
Yeah. Now it's my turn. So I already know that our Evolution is going to be up there for me. I also think Unstoppable is going to be up there for me, because that was the show that we got Sasha Becky, where Becky got the standing ovation after the match, and Owens Zayn as well, where Owens just beat the fuck out of Zayn, powerbombed him until he just couldn't get up anymore, and won via no contest rather than by pinfall.
Yeah. Okay.
But then again, the rest of that card isn't really strong, so maybe never mind on that, because the rest of that card really wasn't as great. I'm trying to remember, what was the show that had Dream versus Riddle on it? Because I feel like I remember really loving that show.
Oh, let me look it up real quick now that I'm on my computer. Dream
versus
Riddle.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. TakeOver New York.
TakeOver New York? Oh, but I feel like I didn't like that show, though. Yeah, because that was Gargano versus Cole 2 out of 3 falls, and I hated that shit.
Yeah, he did.
It was also Shayna, Bianca, Io, Kyrie, where we were all like, Kyrie should win here. And then she got called up like the next week and did basically nothing for a long time. That was Walter beating Dunn, which was great. Dream Riddle was great, and War Raiders versus Alistair and Ricochet. So that was like, the undercard was amazing, but then the two main world title matches were not good. So I can't really say that belongs. Let's see. So our Evolution is a definite lock. I think I'm gonna actually have Chicago or Chicago 2. Oh, New Orleans is a definite lock. That's like easy peasy lemon squeezy. So our Evolution and New Orleans are the two absolutely positively yes answers. I think I am going to sign on to you with Philadelphia. That was a really good one. Let me look at some of the Brooklyns and stuff like that and see if I can find something else. Let's see. Riddle Ono, Black Gargano, Ciampa now. I'm going to pass on War Games. What was... I'm trying to remember now. It should be over here. Let's see. It's up higher. Right there. It was the first War Games. Okay. No. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to sign on to the first War Games show as well.
Okay.
War Games 3? Dunn, Priest, Dane. No, I wasn't as into that. I mean, the two War Games matches last year were great, but the rest of the card was kind of meh. Plus, there was like the whole fallout of that, where people were like, "Oh, Dakota Kai's such a failure that she can't even cost her team a match correctly." Her. Stab someone in the eye.
Wow.
I'm not sorry.
I didn't ask you to apologize.
All right, so our Evolution. Fuck. What about these three? No, definitely not. See, when I really like buckle down and try and get like stubborn, it's a lot harder. Yeah, that annoyed me too. And fuck Austin Aries, right?
Yeah, Austin Aries is kind of a douche.
Kind of. Ah! Funny, sir.
I have a tendency.
Mister, you don't want me making your health decisions for you himself.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Why is this so difficult for me?
Because list questions are inherently difficult. Mark was just out to break us.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
Yeah, Mark.
Mark! So the three that I'm coming back to are our Evolution, New Orleans, and Philadelphia. Those are the three that kind of stick in my mind. Let me see if I can find a good, more recent one or two that stand out as well. I'm gonna go back to like, didn't I really like Phoenix, or was that one that I hated? Yeah, I'm kind of middle of the road on that, honestly. New York. Yeah, I hated New York. Takeover 25. Cole beat Gargano, and fuck that. Not a big fan of that one. Toronto. Cole Gargano, good. Baszler beat Mia, that wasn't bad. Dream done strong, okay. Io beat oh yeah, that fuck that match, Jesus Christ. War Games, that was the one that I already looked at. Portland, didn't I like Portland? I feel like I liked Portland.
Portland, I feel like you were friends with, maybe.
Yeah. With Portland, that'll be number 4. That'll be number 4. That's a good card. And that was really good. That was really good. And Take Over in Your House. There's my top 5. There you go. So we've got Our Evolution. I think New Orleans is number 1. New Orleans is number 1. Our Evolution could be number 2. Number 3, Philadelphia. And then Portland and In Your House are my top 5.
Nice.
Yeah! Oh, thank Christ we're done with the lists. Next question. Next set of questions from Iconic. First up, back to school, but the entire faculty, including the janitor, consists of the WWE roster. Who gets what positions?
Wasn't there literally like a character in the Attitude Era that was like a garbage man? That's like the ideal character, I think, for like the janitor. You know, it's kind of like proximal, I think, to that.
I don't think he means all time. I think he means right now.
Oh, goddamn, right now?
Yeah, we can't just use Duke to Dumpster Drozy.
So, I guess Naya, because she's already trash. So, again, proximity.
Dude, I was literally going to try and think of, like, who do I want to make their life miserable because they shouldn't be wrestling?
Yeah, so definitely Naya, and if not her, of course, Charlotte.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whoever isn't the one being the janitor that's like cleaning shit up and all that, the other one can be the phys ed teacher. So yeah, Naya, janitor, Charlotte, phys ed teacher, because at least she's in good shape, right? And Charlotte can be the phys ed teacher.
I would have Dijakovic be my phys ed teacher because he just seems intense. Like, he seems like the type of gym teacher in the TV shows that, like, pelts the kid with the dodgeball.
Well, you know what, though, dude? We've got to remember, high schools are gender separated in gym class, so Charlotte can be the gym teacher for the girls. Dijakovic can be the gym teacher for the boys.
Okay, so Dijakovic, male gym teacher. For me, you know what? Because I just love the idea of the, like, hard-ass caricature of the gym teacher. I'll go with Shayna for gym teacher for the girls.
Oh, Shayna doesn't even need to be on the faculty. She's just the school bully.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Let's see. What's the home economics? Kevin Owens, because he's a father, damn it.
Yeah. Home ec, is that like cooking and like home management stuff?
Yes.
Or like, so
we could also go with Ruby Riott. Actually, no, she's horrible at that. Never mind.
No. Do not let that woman near a kitchen. Jesus Christ. So wait, it's just WWE, they said, right? So,
yes.
We can't
strictly
see WWE. If you didn't mishandle Emma, I could just be like Tenille. But yeah, they mishandled her, so it's like whatever.
Yep. So that's why I'm going with Kevin Owens, because he's a father, damn it.
Fine, fuck it. He probably knows how to cook something. He'll probably give me the best bowl of cereal I've ever had. Who's next?
I mean, even if it didn't taste any different, you would know that it came from Kevin Owens, and therefore it would be the best you've ever had.
I'm a deep believer that the secret ingredient is love. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Who's our math teacher, John?
Oh God.
Obviously, we wish it could be Scott Steiner, but he's not on the current roster. So.
Yeah. Let me think. Math teacher.
I know who's my physics teacher.
Who's your physics teacher?
Ricochet.
Perfect. Math teacher. I'm just trying to think.
I mean, you could be a specific kind of math too, like calculus or geometry or algebra or whatever.
Is John Cena count? Because I guess he's still not with the roster, right? Because he's kind of doing his own thing.
He's a little bit of a stretch, but I think for the sake of argument, we can just keep him included if you want to.
I mean, I just think because he always overcomes the odds. You know.
Oh, so he's your statistics cheat teacher.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Statistics. I love that. Let's see. I mean, we just for the lulls, we could have Shawn Michaels, since he's still technically like a coach, be the typing teacher.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you've seen the GIF from like '98 now.
yeah, we have.
Or '99 or whatever it was. Yeah. Let's see. Who's the counselor, John? Who's the school counselor?
I mean, Kyle O'Reilly was already kind of Roderick Strong's therapist, so I'll have Kyle O'Reilly be the counselor.
Dude, it's so funny you say that. I was gonna say Dexter Loomis.
Nice.
Because who is a more stable hand to help these children and guide them along?
Very true. Very
Actually,
true.
when I put it that way, I kind of want Seth Rollins to be the school counselor so that everyone can be indoctrinated into his cult.
That's perfect. Yes.
Yeah. The Fiend is the school mascot.
That's agreeable.
Who cuts the most long-winded, verbose promos
Triple H.
on the current active roster?
On the current active roster, I mean, Charlotte can go pretty long, or Natalia, or maybe that's just in my mind.
I mean, they're just obnoxious, though. I mean, like, articulate.
Fuck.
Zelina?
Maybe Zelina.
Maybe?
Maybe.
Trying to think of a good English teacher is what I'm doing here.
Fuck. What's funny is if Sandow was still with the company, I'd probably pick him for the English teacher.
Yeah.
He's like, instead of so like I'm trying to think of a character like in that vein.
Keith Lee.
Yeah, Keith Lee's perfect.
Keith Lee can be really verbose. He's really good at that kind of stuff. He talks like a poet, so that's perfect.
Yeah, Keith Lee is great.
Keith Lee's our English teacher. I love it. Mark, Natalia runs the PTA.
Yeah, that's actually.
So she's also the field hockey coach, without a doubt.
Oh my god! Yeah, yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna stick with Dexter Loomis as my counselor because Seth Rollins is gonna be a programming teacher. He's gonna teach people how to code, but secretly he's gonna be brainwashing all of them.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That's pretty accurate.
I don't know if high schools have any like public speaking classes. I think they do actually. I think my high school had a public.
I took a public speaking class for the first 2 quarters, and then it switched to creative writing.
Yeah, public speaking class. Cameron Grimes.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
I just imagine some meek little like 15-year-old kid goes up to the front of the class and they're just like, "Hi, my name is Sammy and today I wrote a letter. I made my presentation about," and Cameron's just like, "Hang on, kid, what do you think you're doing? We got to take you to the moon."
Yes.
He could also be the astronomy teacher because, of course.
I'm just going to put this out there because I don't even know if you'll think to bring this subject up. I would have Bianca be the art teacher because she already makes her own gear.
Oh, so yes! That's perfect. Yes.
Yeah, Bianca would be the art teacher for me.
Yeah. And if we're not trying to ruin any lives, she would also probably be a really good counselor, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, better than Seth's cult that he's got going on.
Plus, we know she can sew, so let her be the nurse, too, in case anyone needs stitches.
Yeah, she'll just do it all, but she better get 3 times the pay doing all
I was just going to say, we're paying her triple, yes.
Yeah. So what other positions do we have to fill here?
And you know what? If Bianca needs a break from art, I think that Asuka would be a good alternative, too.
Oh, yeah, her gear is always so vibrant and colorful. Yeah,
colorful, yeah. Plus, I mean, we've already seen all the projects she does at home.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
So, music teacher Rick Boogs, easy peasy.
Yes, absolutely. I know Chad.
With occasional appearances from Elias and the New Day.
Yes, that'd be the best fucking music class ever.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to. I wonder if there's anything else we can squeeze out of this bit.
Yeah.
If there was a class where you learn how not to be a good person, Vince McMahon would be a great teacher of that.
Oh, absolutely.
He's more subject. Like, here's a great example of how not to be, kids.
Hold on one second.
Is everything all right?
I just want to look something up to kind of add to this question, seeing as how we've really who asked this question again? Was this another Mark question? Oh, it was iconic. For history teachers, I would want to have as the Viking Raiders, because the Vikings were 11th century, so they would especially be knowledgeable in that subject. So yeah, fucking Eric and Ivar for history teachers.
Interesting. I don't know. I would low key want a history class to be taught from multiple perspectives. So I would almost want multiple teachers.
Yeah, like you speak of New Day, and honestly, I would also have Xavier be a history teacher. So like you could do like 11th century and like stuff like that. But like,
you know who I really want teaching history and teaching about like Robert E. Lee and all that shit?
Who's that?
The one man that's dressed up as Robert E. Lee before on WWE programming, R-Truth.
Oh my god.
R-Truth, history teacher.
That would be pretty fun.
Can somebody make this an anime?
Yeah. Oh man. So I can't think of any more positions unless you can. I feel like we employed a lot of teachers here.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a pretty good job for sure. I think we've also covered all the major subjects too, like the 4 sort of core subjects. Who's the principal, John?
Oh, it has to be active roster, otherwise I'd say like a Stone Cold if it was
yeah, because like if it was up to Vince McMahon, it would be Shane McMahon. But if it's not up to Vince, it's up to us.
I guess Roman Reigns. Because he is the big dog, and he's the man and the guy. So Roman Reigns.
You know what? As much as I love that, I want Roman to be more interactive with the kids. No. God, it's such a hard call. But like, in my principle, I want somebody that is going to really represent the values that I want being passed on to these kids. So I really want my principal to be Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, he'd be that cool, understanding principal that would realize there are no bad children, only like bad environments. And it's
you know what though? I feel like the principal is the face of the school, while the vice principal is the one that does more of the actual dirty work. So maybe we would make Roman principal, Ali is the vice principal, and he's the one that gets to be like the cool, nice figure, while Roman is more the authority figure.
There you go. That's good. That's good.
There we go. All right, that works. Let's move on. Second question from Iconic. Which current young lion or young lions do you see leading New Japan into a new era in the next 10 years?
Oh, man. Alex Coughlin, I'm really excited about, at least from Shibata's dojo. Really, everybody from Shibata's dojo I'm stoked about.
Well, and I guess I'll speak on the New Japan dojo. I definitely think that Shooter Shoto Mino is going to be the future ace of the junior division. And Yuya Uemura is a potential future heavyweight that could be like a main event level guy.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that, actually. That's
and I also forgot to mention, still technically a young lion, just on excursion, but we cannot forget Ishii's son. I just forget his name. What's his name?
Oka?
Yes, Tomoyuki Oka. We can't forget him, and we can't forget Yota Tsuji. I like both of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all your picks, man.
All right, next question from Iconic. Now that he's back, will WWE finally get Roman Reigns right or immediately fuck up his push again?
I think they were getting him right until, like, COVID happened and, like, the Goldberg match and everything. Like, I was liking Roman Reigns on this most recent run. And his return, I already said I think his return was the highlight of SummerSlam. And I've heard... Now, again, take everything. We just talked about wrestling journalists earlier, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I hear that they are going to keep this edge to him. I love the T-shirt. I love the attitude. Some people would love if Roman was outed as, like, the leader of Retribution. They feel like that'd be so fucking cool for him. I don't know if I agree with that. That might be a bit much. I think Roman
that's
needs
too openly heel.
That's too openly heel, and honestly, like, I don't think Roman needs a faction anymore. Like, he was already a part of one, and I'm not really interested in seeing him lead one. Yeah. But the Roman that's like telling Strowman, you know, you ain't a monster unless I'm here, and who told The Fiend, you're just a freak with a mask, you can't handle the responsibility. Yep. Like, this shit talker, yeah, and I think they're going to keep it, because if they weren't committed to it, because I think WWE, as Vince, excuse me, I called you Vince, what a horrible insult. As Ashton said in his thread about Vince on Twitter, you know, he picks his winners. Roman Reigns is a winner. They're always going to treat winners with more care than people they've cast out as losers. So if you're committing to something with a winner, chances are it's going to stick. And if the Roman Reigns we got at SummerSlam is the Roman Reigns we're getting going forward, this might be the best Roman Reigns we've ever seen. So like I think they're going to succeed. When it comes to Roman Reigns, who is a chosen winner, I think they're going to succeed. So how do you feel, dude?
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think that the only real way to fuck up his push is to push him too hard, too fast, and too sort of unabashedly and shamelessly, and just be like, okay, he's back, he's Superman now, he's gonna beat anyone that you liked before. They're either gonna lose to Roman or lose to someone so that person can then get fed to Roman. If they have that mentality again, that's the only way to fuck him up, I think, right now. I think he's kind of in a zone right now. I think he feels very similar to how the Usos felt when they were kind of hitting their peak in SmackDown's heyday a few years ago. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited to see Roman tomorrow night, actually.
I'm stoked for that as well. I think right now that's the only thing I'm really thinking is worth reacting to. So we'll have to see what else SmackDown has to offer.
All right, next question is from Iconic. You can only save 3. And then he lists a bunch of names, so you have to only save 3 of the following names. The rest of them, I'm assuming, never existed? I don't know. John Lennon, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Tupac Shakur, Selena, Kurt Cobain, and Bob Marley.
I'm going to say Hendrix, Tupac, and... Fuck. Oh, Cobain. Tupac, Hendrix, Cobain. There we go.
I loved Tupac, but compared to some of the other names on this list, he definitely comes off as more expendable than the others to me. I'm gonna say Jimmy. I think Jimmy's the only name that you and I agree on, actually. Jimi Hendrix for sure. Janis Joplin and Bob Marley are my three.
Awesome. All right.
Next question is from Iconic. It's our final question from Iconic, 5th and final. What are some pros and cons from the DC fandom that you learned of?
Really, I learned about nothing but pros. I liked everything they came out with, at least as far as their cinematic universe is concerned. And the game looks good too that they're coming out with. At least the what's the term for it? Not cutscene stuff, but not actual gameplay. But more
I want to actually just cut you off really quick because Iconic said in the chat, we aren't saving them from not existing. We're saving them from dying young. So they would have still had their normal lives. And then rather than dying at the age that they did, they would have lived out longer, more meaningful, or not more meaningful necessarily, but longer lives. I'll just leave it at that. Longer lives.
I still stick by my 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that fundamentally changes anything.
I'm really surprised you picked Kurt Cobain, honestly.
Yeah. Got a soft spot a little bit, so. But I guess back to our other question about pros and cons of fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really feel any cons.
I was going to say, yeah. were there any things that came out of the fandom that people were talking about being a bad thing?
I don't think so, dude. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I feel like pretty much everything that came out of it was good. At least as far as I'm aware. I could be unaware of stuff that was bad, but yeah, the Batman looks great. Wonder Woman 84 looks really, really good. Suicide Squad movie, directed by James Gunn, looks really good. Black Adam, holy shit, I'm excited about that. And then the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game looks fucking amazing.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how the biggest pro really did seem to be for a lot of people the Batman teaser. Because, I saw some diehard Batman fans cry. Because, now, here's the thing, guys. I'm not that big on comics. I'm very touch and go with comics. Still need to catch up on Deadly Class, but I'm going to have a field day with it then because I've let it pile up so bad. But, for a lot of hardcore Batman fans, they were this reminded them of the 80s Batman comics, which to them seemed like a lot darker and this and that and told darker stories. So, I think people, again, especially the hardcore Batman fans, really felt like this teaser spoke to them. And it's wow, we're getting a proper Batman detective story, which Dark Knight was kind of, but I don't think they fully committed the way that this one seems to be committing, especially, again, given that the villain is the Riddler. So you could build a whole thing about that. I saw so many comparisons, dude, between this teaser and 7. Like, all the discourse about it was positive, which isn't to say that the Wonder Woman got negative or anything got negative, but not only was it positive, everybody seemed so fucking hyped.
Yeah.
Like, about this. Yeah. And not only was it positive, too, can I just say, too, why it's the biggest pro? It converted so many people that Pattinson's going to be great as Batman. Because I think they heard that, and, like, all they associate him with is Twilight, which I almost can't blame them for, because that was such a big part of, like, you know, the cultural moment at the time. But he's done so much since then, and, like, I feel like this is going to be the movie for him, that because of its reach, people are going to be like, oh, so he can act. And he's like, but I did all this before, and yeah, but we never watched it. God! You know, and he's going to, like, want to have to suppress killing people. But, yeah, it really converted a lot of people that, like, okay, he's going to be a solid Batman. So, yeah, that was the biggest pro, I think, to come out of Fandom, period.
Yeah. All right, next up, we've got 5 questions from Abel. You know, Abel's tend to be a little on the heavier side, but then we have 5 from Foster to close the whole thing out. And you also know that Fosters tend to be on the lighter side. So we'll go heavy first with Abel, and then we'll lighten things up to close everything out with Alex. And first up from Abel, what are your thoughts on the Jacob Blake shooting and the reaction that it has invoked?
I think it's disgusting, as every other act of police violence has been. I mean, and, you know, it's really a sad fucking thing when it's like, oh, thank God he didn't die. He's only just paralyzed from the waist down. So it's not that another black life was
when realistically he should never have been shot at all in the first place.
And that's what makes it so fucking sad, is that, like, well, I guess you didn't kill this one, so... You know, but you've irreparably damaged this life. You've altered this life. And you know what I think is so disgusting? Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I want to say, I've already said on countless Q&As. And that's not a shot at you, Abel, because I understand why you want us to talk about this. We should be talking about this. It's important. It's part of the cultural moment.
Yeah.
But one thing that does bother me, and, like, it's not new. I'm not saying anything novel, but I just want to bring this back to attention, is how deeply rooted right-wing ideology is in this country right now, that you want to talk about mental gymnastics. We got a question earlier about mental gymnastics. Oh, yeah, that's right, Wednesday Night Wars. No. The real mental gymnastics comes from the right-wing base that will find any reason for black people to be shot. Like, any reason. I think I was already hearing Steven Crowder being like, oh, this man was a convicted rapist, and he had a weapon and this and that. I don't even know how much of that was true. I don't think any of it was true, at least from my knowledge. Somebody correct me. And I'm going to be honest, whoever corrects me, I'm going to be vetting them too. But somebody step forward if you've heard a different narrative. But it's just the idea that, like, you're going to suck the teat of officers at any cost. You're going to find anything like unironically, right-wingers will be like, but Jacob Blake one time in 7th grade smoked weed, so he was a deleterious influence on society. He needed those bullets in his back. Like, unironically, they would make that case. And you could hear every muscle tear in them stretching to do it. But they would do it. You know? And this whole thing that I'm seeing, because we could say ad nauseum, police are an inherently white supremacist institution. It's a bipartisan thing because Bill Clinton in his presidency augmented police powers and presence considerably. That it's not just a conservative invention. Because really, let's be honest here. Democrats aren't even saying abolition. They're saying defunding. Whereas the real, like, hard left, like myself, you know, communist, anarchist, stuff like that, they're like, no, you don't, like, slow down the cancer without excising it completely just for it to make a comeback. You excise that motherfucker completely. And I look at police as a cancer, just unequivocally. I was talking about this with Just Alex today, because I know he's of the more liberal persuasion. Like, he's more that moderate liberal, you know, the Obama era, probably Clinton. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that's just the vibe that I get. And even he, you know, it's just like, it's so, like what else? And then the 17-year-old in Kenosha. Let me tell you something about the Kenosha riots, guys. So many fucking people were like, oh, look at the damage and the carnage that the Black Lives Matter and Antifa terrorists, which I don't want to go in the lectures because I want to try and say something new because we keep talking about this. But this fucking 17-year-old, which now I want to be careful here. I'm going to be a bit different, maybe at my own risk. I don't want to completely flay the kid, because he had to pick that shit up somewhere. Like, his mother drove him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole thing, too, is when you're that young, you believe what your parents believe for the most part.
He was radicalized. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. He was radicalized. I would not be surprised. And again, I don't want to generalize, but it's just you and me talking, and honestly, I don't give a fuck because we've talked about this so much already. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a household that had Tucker Carlson on every night. It wouldn't surprise me if that was a household that, like, watched the inauguration, was all excited, and like, oh, finally we can get this neighborhood to be more white. Like seriously. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it was that kind of household. And I know people are saying, like, they want this kid tried as an adult. And really, again, I can't even follow with that because I'm a critic of retributive justice and prison abolition. But let me just say, though, I understand the anger because how many young black people are tried as adults when they shouldn't even be tried as adults legally? So I get it. But, like, throw the whole fucking thing away. Like, I don't want the kid tried as an adult. I don't want a carceral state. I want him rehabilitated. I want black people to not be criminalized for being black or for selling drugs that aren't even hard fucking drugs when really just all drugs should be decriminalized anyway. Like, this is the one thing that concerns me, even for well-meaning people. And I don't mean to sound like I'm smarter than everybody because I really regard myself most days as a dipshit, if I'm honest. But, like, I don't like how quickly people are to individuate problems and solutions. Like, that kid killed 2 people that were black and he comes from like a white family and he's using the rhetoric of protecting businesses. Let's like ruin his life because he deprived 2 lives. Now that's a serious crime. I'm not denying the severity of the crime. But what do you get when you lock them up? When really all you're really doing is, one, you're feeding the carceral state, which is feeding capitalism and feeding all these other ills that destitute black lives anyway, and destitute lives in general. I mean, my father was a white man. He came from a very privileged background, but when they pissed that all away, he couldn't even get a job because they saw that he was convicted and nobody trusted him. So you're feeding all that, which that's just a horrible thing to feed. I'm looking to not feed the beast, but granted, given that it's the only means we have, yeah, do your fucking process. I mean, it's the best thing we fucking have. I hate it, but it is what it is. The second thing is, I would much more, again, with the mechanisms we have the mother be held accountable. He probably wouldn't have been able to go anywhere if the mother didn't drive him 20 minutes out. That's one thing I want us to pay more attention to, too. Yeah, he had the gun and yeah, he did the shooting, but the mom drove him, which also means on some level, like, did the mom know that he was packing a gun? I'm inclined to think yes. I'm inclined to think absolutely yes.
Well, not to mention the fucking police officers that let him do it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, police are always going to, like, be courteous and allowing to, you know, people that they perceive as right-wing or just people, you know, coded as white or are white or whatever. You know, there was, like, photos.
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you heard this yet. Apparently this is something that came out relatively recently, maybe even earlier today. The suspect is a former member of a youth police cadet program.
Jesus fucking Christ. I want to reiterate
he was also someone that promoted Blue Lives Matter online and was constantly posting pictures of himself with guns online.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, actually, because I'd like to reiterate for the umpteenth time that blue lives don't exist. It's a fucking uniform, okay? It's not that deep, bruh. And the only good cop is one that quits. And if you stay a cop, I want to remind you that the only difference between you and a Klansman is not just your uniform, but a pension. Because I guess you actually get paid to kill black people. And I know people like Shay and others will be like, oh, but you can't just abolish the police. And, like, honestly, and maybe it's just me, like, I'm going to level with you guys. And I can't speak for Ashton either. I'm speaking solely for myself. And God knows how black people fucking feel, right? So I'm about to use my privilege right now. I am so tired. Like, I don't know how to explain to people when the evidence is right in front of your face that this is, like, fucking out of control, right? Like, I don't understand how you can look at the police and be like, it's a few bad apples. Don't they understand that rot spreads? Like, I know you're the anti-science kind of wing, right? But you think you'd know that rot has a way of proliferating. And this is far more than a few bad apples. When we say it's systemic, we mean it's systemic. And I'm really getting tired of mincing words. I'm getting tired of trying to be nice in the handle and just be like, oh, you know, it's okay because, like, people are dying. These aren't just opinions of, like, what cereal do I want for breakfast, right? These are positions that choose who gets to count as human and who doesn't. And by extension, who gets to live or die, who gets adequate care, who gets this and who gets that. And we need to be honest about our history. These people, I mean, we have some right-wingers like Dinesh D'Souza, right? Like, that's a name I haven't heard in a while, but I'm just thinking of him. That did documentaries. It's like, oh, you know, these left-wing Marxist radicals, which, Jesus fucking Christ, if you actually knew how a university worked, you'd realize there's no radicalization. The university's been co-opted by capitalism. There are literally, if you really think professors control things, why are professors going into universities during a fucking pandemic, right? And then just being like, no, I think I'm going to stay home. Yeah, it's because it's not fucking Marxism that runs the universities. It's capitalism like everything else. Fucking, oh my God. But he's like, oh, this left-wing indoctrination centers have taught us that, we slaughtered indigenous people. They gave the land freely. Uh-huh. They gave the land fucking freely. There was no colonialism, no fucking biological warfare, no terrorism whatsoever by white people. There wasn't indiscriminate rape or burning down of lands, or none of that happened. It was just the dinner, and they're like, you know what? That was the best fucking apple pie I ever had. Have what's now to be known as the United States of America. That's totally how it happened. Are you fucking for real? Like, and then, like, I know I seem to have gone on a tangent, but it's like all connected. Because when you do stuff like this, you think that America can't do anything wrong. And when you think that America can't do anything wrong, and you position police as heroes, like, oh, they're the upholders of America's law and order. They're always in the right. They're just defending themselves. It's the riskiest job in the world. Not true. You literally are putting yourself more at risk being a delivery person. But I digress. You're never going to want to hold them accountable. You're never going to want to hold them accountable because you're always going to blame the victim. And I have never seen victim blaming more than with the black population. I mean, maybe, of course, like, obviously women and, like, sexual assault victims, but, like, in this historical context, it is amazing the lengths that people will go to blame black people for their own suffering. You're lazy. You're a drug addict. You're a thug. You're this. And it's like, wow, you're full mask off. Let me tell you what you are. You're a fucking white supremacist. You're a Nazi apologist. Even if you're like, I'm not a Nazi, I would have opposed Hitler. Sure you would have. Like, I'm just really going to be honest now. I'm really done giving a fuck. Sure you would have. That's totally believable. You wouldn't be doing Sieg Heil right along fucking with them. And it's so fucking gross because I have friends that are black. I mean, fucking Foster's right here. Foster and I have talked a few times personally. He knows I fucking love him to death. I was talking to Just Alex today again about it. He's really pissed about it, as he fucking should be. Everybody should be. And really, can I just say, separate from the cops, like, fuck everybody that's complaining about sports not being on and thinking that sports are being politicized. It's not being politicized. It's having a human response. And yeah, maybe not everybody's going to do the right. Because I love how the right, too, wants to criticize them. It's like, oh, it's just virtue signaling. If you really care, do this. Maybe people are figuring it out. Because maybe they're having this conversation for the first time. Because think about how long we've gone with this happening. Because it's not like police brutality is new, right? It's just social media has pronounced it to such a point we have to talk about it. So having that conversation for the first time, maybe people are wondering how to do it. How can I help? What can I do? I even feel like I can do more. This really isn't doing anything. It's screaming into the void. I'd like to have the material ability to, like, donate to causes and do this and that. That's probably the best way to help. But maybe people are just fucking figuring it out. Did you ever think about that? You fuck nut. Like, I'm so tired of stupidity. I'm so tired of this toxic right-wing populism. And then at the same time, like, I'm so goddamn depressed because people are like, oh, well, like, I had a friend today who I deeply respect. Love him to death. And he's like, fascism's here. The brown shirts are here. You know, we got to vote Biden-Harris. And like, dude, I love you. I adore you. And I get it. Yes, quote-unquote harm reduction. Yes, but fuck all of this anyway. Because we wanted Bernie. And even then, real leftists, the anarcho-communists...
Bernie was the compromise, yeah.
Bernie was the bare minimum. The bare fucking minimum we had to do. And you're giving me the guy whose answer to police brutality is, you know, we just need to teach police to shoot people in the leg and not in the heart. No, you senile fuckwit. Are you... no, I don't even have to do the Rick. Are you dying of dementia? You answer that question every time you open your face. It sucks. It sucks. Like, I am so proud, and this is going to be the optimistic note that I end on. I am so proud of every fucking protester. Can that just be said, please?
Yes.
For all, like, the shouting down and everything that the right wing is doing, the demonization, the idea that people, and the media is not even covering it because they want to make you think that it's no longer happening. There are people still organizing in their communities. There are people still feeding their communities. There are people still protecting people that would be homeless from eviction orders. There are still people, white people, advocating. I saw a video a few weeks ago of a white mother saying, I'm late to the party, but I'm ready to get started. Black Lives Matter. I am so fucking proud of every protester that has not stopped, that has not desisted, that understands that radicalism isn't even the ballot box. It goes far beyond it. And to claim the fucking streets because they're yours, because you shouldn't have to be afraid of being out at night or being out in public without getting 7 fucking bullets in your fucking back. And they go and they fight it because they understand that these senile neoliberal corporate fucks do not give a shit if they live or die, and they want something better. They want an actual humane society where they don't have to raise their children, and while most white families, the first serious conversation they have are the birds and the bees, the black families have to say, okay, now here's what you do if a police officer stops you.
Yep.
Enough! Enough! I am so sick of this. I want it all to burn. And when people tell me, you gotta vote for the lesser of two evils, would you please, when you're done moralizing to me, realize that evil is evil regardless of how less it fucking is, and that black people, brown people, trans people, disabled people, every fucking person that's ever been alienated for who they fucking are deserve better than this fuck shit. And fuck every cop that's like, these protests are getting ridiculous. I've never felt so disrespected at my job. Maybe be fucking good at it. Because the same reason that you're bitching and kvetching, they would have no problem if a McDonald's person got their order wrong to be like, oh, they don't even do that hard of a job. They're just pieces of shit. You shit on people all the fucking time. Stop acting like you're so goddamn important when you're nothing more than a domestic fucking terrorist. I'm done. I need to be stopped. I'm fucking, no, I'm over it. I'm over it. Do you have anything you want to add? Please.
I literally just was going to say that it should not be legal for anybody to shoot anybody. Period.
Yeah.
There's no amount of fucking training or authority that you can undergo that can make me say, oh, okay, it's legal for you to shoot people now if you can judge that they're worthy of being shot. Like, no. There is no line that a person can cross that makes them somebody that I would consider okay, legally able to shoot people. Like I'm just not okay with that, period. Like, yeah. Taser, fine. I still am not happy about that taser, but because, that could cause heart complications and people could fall and hit their head and shit like that. But a taser is still a whole fuck ton of a lot more humane than a bullet hole.
Yeah. Like, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me how these practices get legitimized. And then, because you and I talked a little bit about the RNC, that's a fucking trip, man. I wasn't even joking with you when I feel like half of them did drugs before their speeches. Yeah. And you had a great line where I said, like, because they're talking about, oh, we're going to protect law and order, and Trump is the law and order president, which is terrifying. But then again, not as terrifying as just Biden wanting to keep the status quo and nothing's going to fundamentally change. They're both equally terrifying in their own ways. And then you had a great line here. I'm just going to read what you messaged me on Facebook because I thought this was great. You said, how ironic, though, that it's literally all about snowflake shit, like wanting to take personal responsibility, blame the U.S. for what they're absolutely guilty of, and just be told how great you, the U.S., are constantly. And that's the thing. This party wants to lecture everybody else, but they won't hold police accountable, and they won't hold themselves accountable because, of course, they don't. Because they don't
that's
care
their
about
whole thing, man. They want to be told that they're and when I say they, in this case, I'm talking about their base. I'm talking about the fucking cultists. I'm talking about the right wing, the conservative people of the country who don't want to be criticized, who don't want to listen to any criticism of themselves or the country because they see themselves and the only real identity that they have, because they don't have a common struggle, is their country. So that when you criticize their country, they take it as a personal shot at them, and they feel like you're criticizing them personally. So they are unwilling to accept any criticism of their country, and all that they want to be told is that the country is fucking great, and that's it. That's all they want to hear. Even if their lives are fucking miserable, if you just tell them, listen, you live in the best country, they're just like, yeah, I really do, don't I? Things just be way worse than it is. And it's like, that's all they want. And it's like, it's so funny to me that this is the class, or the party, I should say, that loves to call everyone else snowflakes when they are the ones that are so incredibly unwilling to take responsible for the bullshit that the U.S. is absolutely guilty of doing, while at the same time not wanting to hear anything other than, you're awesome. The place you live in, which is the place that you basically base your entire identity off of, is awesome, and that makes you awesome. How's it feel to be awesome?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Oh my
anyway,
God.
that was the first question from Abel.
Fucking Abel, man.
Second question, what are you doing with your second stimulus check if the government approves it? Well, it's funny you say that, Abel, because I don't think the government will approve it. So the answer is I'm not getting one, so I won't do anything with it.
Did you want to have... I really felt like it was going to transition into a cry there after the laugh, but way to keep it together. I mean... Originally, I probably would have done stuff with the family, but I found a way around that because that stone piece that I did for the New York Times paid pretty well. So I just gave that to Christy. So she's going to do whatever she wants with it. We still got to like cash that maybe next week. But if I were to get a stimulus, focusing on just for me, I mean, let's be honest, y'all, books. Just all the books I can with $1,200. Like, yeah, just build my library. I mean, I'm a nerd first. I really don't give a shit about anything else. I probably would, just as a backup beyond books, probably get a backup studio mic just in case, like this one would ever go out. Because I always do try and think about TWitWoW as well. And maybe like an upgraded webcam if I ever wanted to do stuff. Again, still related back to philosophy. But again, if we're being 100% real, it's just all books. Just all the books. And bookshelves for the books. And maybe even my own warehouse for the books. So, yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Okay. If I would actually get a second stimulus check, which again I don't expect to get, but if I would, if the second round of stimulus checks would go out, I'm assuming that it would be the one that's been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk for like 4 months now that they just haven't bothered looking at. And in that one, I know for sure that it basically includes pretty much every adult that was actually missed out on the first round of checks, basically the ones that were claimed as dependents by their parents or by somebody else. Those people would then also get stimulus checks, which means that my mom would then get a stimulus check as well. So I wouldn't have to worry too much about getting her anything because, like, if it was just me getting the stimulus check again, I would want to get her a new laptop and a new phone. But if she's going to get her own, she can use her own money, her own stimulus check on that, and that kind of frees me up a little bit to kind of do what I want. And I really don't know. It's kind of tempting to pay for like really, really good Japanese lessons. Like, I don't know if there are like any resources out there that are like way better than the ones that I've been using that maybe just cost a few bucks. I don't know. I really don't know what I would do if I got another stimulus. I would probably do my best to save it just in case like next year's car inspection went really poorly and I ended up having to pay a lot for that, or to use on a security deposit at an apartment because my mom and I are going to be moving here very, very soon. Or something along those lines. I don't really have anything that I would spend it on right now, but I would definitely keep it around just in case.
Yeah, that's understandable. I really like that.
All right, so next question. What is your most conservative position?
My most conservative position. I mean, if conservatives actually upheld their principles, like I'm very small government to the point where I'm like anarchist and for a decentralized authority rather than a centralized authority. So maybe you can make that argument. Although, you know what though? Taken from the political philosopher Michael Oakeshott on his essay on being conservative, I guess my most conservative tendency, like I do on some level like tradition. It just depends on like who that tradition is ostracizing, hurting, whatever. Because tradition could also be a very ugly word depending on the context, right? Like it alienates black people or gay people or whatever. But I even think about like in my house, like we do Family Day every Saturday, and like we do the Chinese food and the Netflix. So like you get in a rhythm, you have these customs, you have these traditions. So I guess like on a social level, I don't mind traditions. Like say for example, a 4th of July parade, this and that. I just wish it was more meaningful than just like a propaganda type thing. Of like, look how great we are. I wish it would actually be like, look how far we've come, look how many people we've genuinely helped, and here's how we want to go forward. Because I do think rituals and traditions can have a positive impact, but I think we just have to be, wary about, like the social and historical context that they're instituted and what their ends are. So I guess that would be my most conservative position, is I do see value in it. I'm just very skeptical of it in most contexts, I guess, when you go to a broader level, like outside of the home. Yeah. So what about you? What's your most conservative position?
Yeah. I mean, you probably could answer this question for me better than I could. I mean, do you have an idea? Like, what would you say, as the talks we have, what would you say my most conservative position is?
Oh man, don't put that on me.
Well, no, but I feel like I lack awareness on the subject as far as like.
Would you say you're like fiscal in the sense of like, well, I think you'd be fiscal in certain contexts, like why are we bailing out corporations and banks, right? And you'd want to be more fiscal in the sense of like, is that even in the national budget? Like you're literally printing money for these corporations, and we don't have anything for medical care. So your most conservative thing would probably be on a fiscal level. It's like, where is the spending going, and where could it be going? And like not going crazy with it. But I don't know if that's fair though. I don't know if that's fair.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that like, is that really conservative though? Because I guess in the sense that like, stop printing money is conservative, but like my reasoning behind that is tax the fuck out of billionaires, and I don't think that any conservative would be like, yeah, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I was actually just looking earlier at the tax brackets. Like I was literally earlier, I was looking at the U.S. income tax brackets. It was in my history. And like, did you know that our highest tax bracket, the absolute most income tax that anybody in this country pays on any dollar, is only 37%?
Wow. That's pretty wild.
Yep. Yeah. So I was actually looking at that, and I was thinking too, like, if I ever had any power, or if I ever had somebody's ear who had power, I'd be like, don't present it as you're going to tax people more. Present it as you're going to tax the super rich, and they aren't being taxed right now. Like, present it as, okay, we are not going to change anything about the current tax system as it is. We're just going to add a few tax brackets at the top of the top. So right now, the top tax rate is 37%, and that's for every dollar made over $518,401 in a year for a single filer, or $622,051 in a year for married filing jointly, right? So what I would say is, we're going to just add brackets on top of that. I would say every dollar made over, and I would make it really simple too. I would simplify the shit out of it. And what I would actually do is, I would increase the brackets that currently exist so that people below that 37% bracket are actually paying less in their taxes. So right now, you pay 10% for every dollar that you make up to $9,875. And I'd say, you know what? Fuck that. Take it up to 15 grand. And then the next bracket is 9,875 up to 40,125. And I would say, you know what? Fuck that. Take it up from 15 grand to 45 grand. So we're making it nice and simple. We're keeping it nice and clean, nice and succinct. The next bracket is 40,126 to 85,525. Fuck that complicated shit. 45 grand to 100 grand. Keep it simple. Next bracket up, 100 grand to 175 grand. Next bracket up, 175 grand to 225 grand. Next bracket up, 225 to 500. And finally, then you get to the 500. But I would say from 500 to a million, we'll stick with the 37%, and that's fine. But every dollar that's made between $1 million and $2 million, it's 42. And then every dollar that's made between 2 million and say 4 million, it's like 50, right? And you keep going until you get to like the $1 billion range. And that's where you're like 95%. Fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you build it up. And the thing is too, I would actually, it's really, really tempting here to add a lot of brackets, like dozens more brackets, because I feel like that's the only way to really truly illustrate just how absurdly much $1 billion is. Like, if you literally just add a bracket at like, okay, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, but then rather than skipping right to 50 or 100 million, you go $20 million. Then you go $40 million, then you go $80 million, then you go $150 million, then you go $300 million, then you go maybe $500 million, then you hit $1 billion, and people, when they look at the tax brackets, they'll scroll, and they'll scroll, and they'll scroll, and they'll just keep seeing these numbers going up by actual significant amounts, but it won't click like, holy shit, it takes this much, or it will click rather, it takes this many multiplications of what I make to get to $1 billion. And the thing is too, like, most people know that they'll never make $1 million in a year in their life. And most people probably realize they'll never make more than $500,000 a year in their life. So this tax plan would literally not change for a gigantic majority of the country. And since I'm actually raising some of the brackets, it would save them money on their income tax. But because we are raising the tax so significantly above a certain point, we're going to bring in bank, we're going to stop printing shit, and we're going to pay back the fucking debt, and we're going to supply all these social programs for everyone. That's my dream, right? But if being conservative means not wanting to spend money on the military, I feel like that's not conservative, though.
Yeah, I agree. So I really don't know what your most conservative trait is.
I don't really know either. It's funny, though, because anytime we do, like, those political compass or politiscales or whatever those tests are, you always come out further left than me. So that's why I'm wondering, like, what's, like, holding me back from being as far left as you according to these things.
Yeah, right? It's weird. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to skip it over, but I'd love to actually have an answer for you. It sucks that we'd have to pass this over potentially, but yeah. I don't know.
What are, let's see, traditionally conservative stances, I guess, in the U.S.? Conservatism in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm anti-Bible, I'm anti-Reagan, I firmly believe in climate change and that we are to blame for it, and by we, I mean corporations. Social issues. No. Yeah, I don't really know if I have a good answer to this. I don't think either one of us really has a good answer to this, unfortunately.
Yeah, because we're just really not that conservative. I mean, at most, again, I had to pull out, like, an essay I'm sure nobody here has read and just, like, give a really
John's just like, I'm not actually conservative at all, but if you go by this different definition of conservative that doesn't actually mean the conservative that you're trying to get here, Abel, we can totally pull this off.
And that well, actually, I'm happy you said that, because we also do have to think about how ideologies shift. Like, dude, I saw an image the other day. Let me see if I can find it just real quick. I mean, fuck, we've already been going live so long. What's a few extra seconds, right?
Yeah.
1956 Republican. I couldn't believe that this was a platform. Apparently, this was a 1956 Republican Party platform. And again, I want to emphasize, 1956 this was.
So this was just barely post FDR. This was like a decade after FDR's death.
Yeah. So the 1956 Republican platform was apparently provide federal assistance to low-income communities, protect Social Security, protect asylum for refugees, extend minimum wage, improve the unemployment benefit system so it covers more people.
What?
Strengthen labor laws so workers can easily join a union.
So when did they flip?
I don't know, but like, yeah, if we're going by.
But wait. If that was the conservative platform in 56, what was the left platform in 1956? What was the Democrat platform in 1956?
Oh God, I'm kind of scared to find out. Democrat Party platform. Let's see. Republican. The closest I could find was the 1932 platform.
That's Reagan, or that's FDR though. So that's, we already know him.
Yeah. Oh man, this all sounds so good. What happened?
Dude, I'm telling you what happened. Fucking Reagan happened. Reagan ruined everything. Although, frankly, he was like the biggest change for the negative, but he wasn't the first change for the negative. That was probably Nixon.
Yeah, fucking Nixon. Yeah, I guess
Nixon was like, I know that things are going well, but I consider that to be a problem, and I just really want to stop the bleeding here.
Yeah.
And then fucking Reagan was just like, we need to complete a surgery. We need to kill everything.
Yeah. Fuck, man. It's so ironic that, like, Reagan was a movie star before getting into politics, and Trump was, like, in that same kind of vein as, like, reality TV in the business. Like,
The two worst presidents in this country's history were former movie stars. And one of the best, because JFK was also in Hollywood, I believe.
Yeah. Funny thing is, though, a lot of historians say that if JFK had lived, we don't really know what would have come of this president, but I don't think it would have been like as progressive as I think a lot of people hoped. But then again, yeah, I think it's like a difference of interpretation, because some historians think that he probably would have stuck it out in Vietnam. Others, I think, probably think that he would have ended it. So I don't know. That's always the question of what his presidency would have been. But
yeah, isn't it like a big conspiracy theory that he was assassinated by people from the government? Like the assassination was called on for by people in the government because he wanted to pull out of Vietnam?
It was either Vietnam or that he wanted to end the Federal Reserve was one that I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and hell, either one of those things is like, holy shit, this is like a huge momentous shift in the positive direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think I have to just kind of give up here. I don't know what my most conservative position is, Abel. I'm sorry.
Next question from Abel.
Why are so many people against the Black Lives Matter movement, and how can we encourage those people to support it?
Well, when you look at the people that are really virulently in supportive of it, well, okay, I'm going to break this down in two ways. There are people that are like virulently like against it, which I'm just going to call it like I see it. They're like fascist adjacent, white supremacist apologia, that kind of stuff. I don't want to recruit them anyway. Fuck that Big Tent shit. They, whatever. I'm not going to, fucking compromise. I think there are other people, though, that are well-meaning, but, like, we live in an age of mass information. Like, just to give you a perfect example, that 5-year-old, Cannon Hinnant, that white child that died at the hands of a black man, and, like, Charlie Kirk and all them were like, oh, see? And I even saw well-meaning people, that I love a lot, like, share that. And it was really gross. Like, I had a gross feeling, but I'm like, I can't even blame them when we live in an age of mass information. And I had to, like, explain to some of them, well, the guy got apprehended immediately. Obviously, some media talked about it because you're talking about it right now. So, we can kind of do the whole infinite regress thing. But that's the group I'm more focused on. The fringe right are going to be the fringe right. And engaging them in dialogue only legitimizes them and does nothing for my power. And it is actually me expending energy needlessly that I could be spending, organizing, and doing stuff like that. So fuck that, right? But I think the people that are like the victim of like a misinformation campaign, if I could speak, I think those are the people that are more worthwhile to engage. I don't know how you do that though in a meaningful way, like without the intrusion and like the messaging jamming of like other responses. Say if it was on Twitter or something, other people chiming in, calling you a libcuck or this person doing this, and then it just evolves into a whole thing. So if they're your friends and family, just talk to them intimately. And if it's somebody that you feel like is well-intentioned but might be misguided, if there's an option to DM or whatever, what I would just say is try and keep it to as little cooks in the kitchen as possible with those people. But fringe right, fuck them. Just fuck them for me. I'm not even going to waste time. What about you, though, Ashton? You always have something good to add.
Yeah, I just want to kind of speak as somebody who probably wouldn't have gotten Black Lives Matter and probably would have been one of the like ignorant All Lives Matter types when I was in high school. I guarantee you there's a gigantic chunk of people that are against Black Lives Matter that don't realize that John, bring it back. It's the fucking language of it. Bring it the fuck back to the philosophy of language guy you were talking about to me yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Gotta let that fly out of the bottle, bro. You're using the wrong language.
Yeah. That's literally what it is. Because when people, like, that's the thing. When you see a bunch of black people marching in the streets shouting Black Lives Matter, and you're not a part of that group, your initial instinct, if you're not aware of the inequalities and the injustices and the racial tensions and the problems with the police that black people go through every fucking day, which is something that I wasn't aware of no more than a few years ago, your initial instinct is to be like, what the fuck? Why do they hate me?
Yeah, well, like, and that's the thing. I think the rhetoric, and again, I think this goes hand in hand, though, to be fair, with what I just said about the mass misinformation campaign, because I think most people's instinct is like, oh my God, is this like a black nationalist movement? Which, let me just be clear right now, speaking solely for myself, I see nothing wrong with like black nationalism, which you can find in like Black Panthers and stuff like that. I actually encourage black resistance movements. But I think for the common person, it's like, oh God, is this like a black supremacist group? Like, oh, are they going to, be out for revenge? Because black people and women say all the time, be thankful we want equality and not revenge. And people are probably looking at this and it's like, oh God, is this the sect that wants revenge? Oh God, like, in my home. But then you've got right-wingers, right, like Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk and all them that'll prey on that. So I think what
they'll
you're saying
stoke
is
the
correct.
flames. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is correct, but I think it goes hand in hand with my thing, and like they capitalize on that, and that's like how they ferment it. And honestly, it's so funny you mentioned that philosopher I mentioned, because like out of curiosity, I'm like, did anybody do a paper on this guy's thought Black Lives Matter? And there actually is something on it. I'm wondering if it's free to download, because I might read this later.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's the whole thing. Is I really think it is kind of an issue of language, and really the greater issue. It really is that white people don't really think about race. At least, how do I describe this now? Okay, I shouldn't say white people don't think about race, because obviously there are white people that definitely do. White people who were not raised to be racist were traditionally raised to not see color. And when you're raised to not see color, you're not educated on the issues of race in this country. You're not aware of police brutality and how disproportionately that affects people of color. You're not educated on stuff that black people are educated on from a very young age. So when you say shit like all lives matter to a black person who has been dealing with this shit since they were basically probably a child, they don't think of you as just being ignorant and having not been educated on this shit. They think of you as being malicious, because that's literally all they can think of you as, because again, they've been dealing with this shit for how many years at that point? If they're a teenager, they've already been dealing with it for probably 10 plus years. If they're an adult, they've probably been dealing with it for decades at that point. Like, if it's literally just a difference of the way that people are raised. I grew up in a very kind of apolitical household, but in doing so, I was never taught the struggle of Black America. I was never taught the asymmetry of police brutality. I was never taught any of these things ever growing up. I learned this shit over the course of the last 5 years probably. And because of that, I try now to be a better ally. I try to, platform Black Lives Matter. I try my best at this point to be supportive of any black fans that we have and any movements and stuff like that. I try to, but again, I can't emphasize enough that the way a person is raised has this huge effect on the person that they usually end up becoming. And if you are white and you were raised in a white community and you went to school with mostly white kids, you don't have to be raised to be openly racist towards other people. You don't have to be raised to think that black people and Latinos and Asian people are lesser. You just have to be raised to not think about race. And now all of a sudden you are ignorant to issues of race, which is pretty much what happened to me.
Right. Yeah. Socialization, I think, is a huge thing that we need to be more understanding of. And in times,
I didn't
really
go to
hard.
a completely white school. I did have friends when I was in school, but they were black friends that I never really talked about race with. So, when you don't have those conversations and you don't experience those things, you just don't know anything about them, which was my case.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really think there's anything to add, so I think we can move on.
Yeah, so I really what I'm getting around to saying, though, is that for that particular section of people, I think that they are well-intentioned, and I think that you just have to explain it better to them. You can't leave it as, if you don't support Black Lives Matter, then you're anti-Black Lives, because a lot of people in that group will not understand how that connects. So you literally have to say, when we say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that Black lives are the only lives that matter. What we're saying is that Black lives are the only lives that are currently being treated as if they aren't lives, that aren't being treated like they matter, and they need to be treated like they matter, and explain police brutality, and explain how, fucking, dude, I don't even know if you know this. Black people are more likely to not be treated for pain by doctors than white people.
Oh yeah, dude. There are still some medical textbooks that perpetuate the idea that black people don't feel pain.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's wild, dude. It's fucking wild.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
that just one more thing to add on to that. That book I mentioned earlier for Rotten Butter's question, Entitled, written by Kate Mann, because she tried to be a bit intersectional in the text. So she talked about, black women, trans women, and stuff like that, even though she's a cis white woman and stuff like that. She actually included an anecdote from a sociologist who was a black woman, and she was in a lot of pain. Doctors didn't realize that she was pregnant, she was in labor. But they just kept ignoring her, saying like, "Oh, it's this, oh, it's that," and sending her home.
Yeah.
Like they did not take her seriously. If it was a white woman saying this, she would have gotten.
I mean, how many times do black, young men, or even young women? I would assume actually. I just figure with men, it's probably more asymmetrical, disproportionate towards men. Go to a doctor saying that they feel pain and don't get prescribed anything because the doctor thinks that they're just trying to get drugs.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a huge problem that white people tend not to talk about to their kids. So that alone is going to create the asymmetry, and it's a big problem. Fifth and final question, though, from Abel: what are some positive changes that you think will happen in the next 10 years?
Positive changes?
I don't think 10 years is a significant enough time to have real, genuine positive changes.
That might be all the time we've got, though, with how climate change is accelerating, at least if you believe some people.
Look, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I'm just saying I feel like we're kind of at a standstill as a country. Like, dude, you went on an entire rant earlier talking about how Joe Biden is not progress. Well, Joe Biden being the next president is the best likely outcome.
Yeah, that is true.
That's best case scenario. There is no scenario where Bernie steps in and saves the day. There is no scenario where we magically get AOC on a ticket. That's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. At the very earliest, AOC can't run until 2024. And I'm personally not expecting that to happen. Even if she does, I'm expecting Kamala Harris to run in 2024 and probably win the Democratic nomination. So in my mind, we are going to have a truly progressive political system even begin to start trying to happen until 2033 at the earliest.
Yeah, you make a good point there. I really don't
here's to hoping, I guess. Here's to hoping that Bernie and AOC and the squad can get into the Biden camp's ears enough to be like, hey, let's save the planet. Please?
Please, can we, yeah.
Let's just start, taxing people who use oil, tax corporations, not people. Taxing corporations who are dependent on fossil fuels, and maybe even give them, a little financial reward for using clean energy and green energy and stuff like that. And, I don't expect a full-blown Green New Deal to ever be enacted. And when I say ever, I mean at the very minimum within the next 12 years. But, one or two things that might just prevent our long-term destruction would be really, really nice if they could happen.
Yeah, and, if they've got it in their schedule, for sure.
If old fucking Sleepy Joe has got it in his fucking cold, dead heart to decide, I really do think that these new young whippersnappers over here might have a point about saving the planet. Let's maybe take an action or two to try and actually do that.
Let's do it, Corn Pop. Yeah. Jesus Christ, we're all screwed.
Yeah. So anyway, question. I guess we can move on.
Yeah.
Last set of questions here are from Alex Foster. First question: in fiction, does it matter who ends up with whom romantically? Does romance even matter?
I don't think so. I mean, we all have our ships, but
I was going to say, it depends on the structure of the story, really. If a story is romantic, I guess that no, romance doesn't matter for that story. But if there is romance involved in a story, then you obviously have to get the ships right. Otherwise, the fandom's going to turn on you.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
God, I still can't fucking believe that Katniss ended up with PETA. Fuck that.
Yeah, ew.
All right. Second question from Foster. What weird wrestling pet peeves do you have? I personally don't like people taking off jackets on the ramp instead of in the ring.
Yeah, that's pretty weird. Wrestling pet.
Are you saying that it's weird when wrestlers do that, or are you saying that it's weird that Foster is bugged by wrestlers doing that?
No, I'm saying it is weird when wrestlers do that. I can understand that. You know. Wrestling pet peeves. I think some wrestlers have gotten better about the ropes not being like a wall, but I still feel like too many wrestlers do this. Where it's like, oh, they're out of the ring and they taunted me. It's a shame I can't leave. Like, yeah, you fucking can. You probably did it 5 minutes after they were out of reach. So, like, why didn't you do it then when they were in reach? So, yeah, that's still my biggest pet peeve.
Do you remember what killed my soul on Monday Night Raw this week while we were live reacting to it? Because there was something that happened that I just died.
The whole show was so bad. I don't know. Was it Shayna and Nia teaming up?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So my wrestling pet peeve, I guess, would be two heels who are supposed to not like each other and have beef, or two faces who are not supposed to like each other and have beef, teaming up simply because they are the same alignment.
Yeah. Ooh, that's rough.
Honestly, though, that wasn't even really the thing that was on my mind that was pissing me off. I think just, like, illogical shit in general pisses me off and is, like, a pet peeve. Like, another recent example, Asuka not being angry about Bayley ending Kairi's career in WWE. Like, how exactly are we supposed to believe that your tag team partner and the one woman that you have cared about on your main roster career, and the one woman that has been like you call each other sisters, for fuck's sakes. She calls you big sister, you call her little sister, gets her ass beat and is never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And you're so broken up about it on Twitter that we've gotten to the point that Kairi is now pretending to be trying to find her way back to WWE and getting lost along the way to convince Asuka that she is okay and that she's coming back. Like,
yeah,
it's heartbreaking, but you sure as hell wouldn't be able to tell if you watched the product.
Yeah, that's wow. Met said he thought it was Keith Lee's theme changing that was really what pissed you off, but I don't think you were that mad about it. You were just
that didn't bother me that much at all. Like, that was like, my anger was at like a 1 or 2 out of 10 on that. Like, Asuka, like, you know what? I think that I can sum this all up with one easy little soundbite. My biggest pet peeve in wrestling is when a storyline isn't reflected in a match.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the Cross versus Keith Lee thing. That was all built up. It was so personal. They hated each other. Cross had tortured Dijakovic in front of Keith Lee's face. He threw a fucking fireball at his face. None of that shit came into play during the match itself.
Yeah, that's what really made it so bad.
That's what I'm saying, though. When a storyline's intensity is not matched in the ring.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that was brilliantly stated. I agree.
All right, third question from Foster. What other things besides hair should be wagered in matches? And then he added, I say someone's car.
Car, the deed to their house would be hilarious. That'd be cool. Just because, like, obviously we know it's a storyline, so they're not actually homeless, but you could, like, film vignettes of them, like, I don't know, shopping around or something. Maybe crashing at a friend's place and the friend gets annoyed with them. What else? Maybe their most treasured...
Masks.
Beg pardon?
I said we've already seen masks.
And we've already seen careers. Maybe somebody's Pokemon card collection. I saw Jordan Grace recently say that she had like over 2,000 Pokemon cards, and her brother gave them all away for somebody's pet turtle, and she found out after the fact. So that would probably be cool. You know? So, like, just valuables in general, I guess.
Yeah, that's really the only other thing that I can think of is, like, you build something up as being someone's, like, prized possession or even, like, a companion, like, Moppy kind of thing, and that gets put on the line, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah, that would work.
Plus, I mean, there's, like, this old, weird tradition where that championship title that they wear around their waist and sometimes on their shoulder, that'll get put on the line in matches. It's crazy.
Yeah. I remember once when Stacy Keebler was like a manager test and Scott Steiner had a feud for her services, so I guess like managers and shit. You know, I feel a bit uncomfortable when human lives
Contracts
are
is a good one. Contracts.
Yeah, contracts is a clever one. Like, oh, if I beat you, then for the rest of your contract, you have to serve me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like like the old HBK JBL storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good shit. It's good shit.
Mark said their 401k. That's a good one too. I like that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Custody of Dominic. That was a good one.
I like that. Really cool.
Yeah. All right. I think we've kind of covered it. One more. A decision. A decision should be up for grabs. That's a good one too. Where it's like, maybe it's like two members of a faction trying to decide what who their next target should be. One of them says one thing, the other one says another. They have a match against each other with the person who wins being the one that gets to make the decision.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I also like it when draft picks are on the line in a match.
That's also good.
Fourth question from Foster. Who do you want narrating your life, even the most mundane moments?
Morgan Freeman. It's always been Morgan Freeman.
Werner Herzog, baby.
Perfect. What an easy question. That was the last one you said?
Nope, we have one left.
Okay, give it to me.
Although I will say, low-key, Greta Thunberg sounds like a young female Werner Herzog, and she'll last longer than my life will probably, since she's like 15 years younger than me. So maybe she's a better option, because Werner Herzog is probably not going to last that much longer. He's probably only going to be around for a couple more years. So maybe I should say Greta Thunberg, since she sounds like him anyway.
Yeah, I like that. I actually really like that answer. Good shit.
All right, fifth and final question of Foster and the whole Q&A. What other wrestling moments should be acted out in the Firefly Funhouse?
Wrestling moments?
Yeah.
Finger poke of doom. I don't think we've seen that.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. I was gonna say
that's gonna be that's my answer right there. I can't think of anything better than that because I was
gonna say Foley getting choke slammed off the Hell in a Cell.
That's great. I had one, but I don't think I should say it.
Paul Bearer getting buried in oatmeal.
Paul Bearer getting buried in oatmeal. Kurt Angle's milk truck or Austin's beer truck, if you prefer, just something like that.
The $1 billion princess has become the Dairy Queen.
Yeah. God damn. God, well, we've already seen the Firefly Funhouse set on fire, so anything with fire has already kind of been done.
Yeah.
Fuck it. The really bad one I was thinking was
Katie Vick,
Triple H dressing as Kane and then having sex with like the corpse, just something like that.
Yeah.
Firefly Funhouse version. Yeah.
I mean, since it does say wrestling moments and not just WWE moments, we could also go into like bad Impact stuff like Claire Lynch.
Yeah, that's good. I really like that.
The botched Brock Lesnar shooting star press at Mania.
Oh God, yeah. Fuck
Shane, I like that, Foster. Shane buying WCW.
Oh God, Rambling Rabbit being like, I now own the Firefly Funhouse, and then Bray tugging on his ear.
God, that Vince reaction gif, it gives me life.
It does.
I miss when Vince was humble.
Yeah, or humbled.
That's really all I mean is like willing to make a fool of himself because he's really not anymore.
Yeah,
he's too old.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was a quality answer to that question. I think we can get out of here.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you all enjoyed. If you did, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Twitch, subscribe on Twitch, buy our merch on Teespring, donate to our Patreon, and share this video and this channel with all your wrestling fan friends and let them in on the best kept secret in the YouTube and Twitch wrestling communities. We hope that you're all looking forward to our upcoming content. We've got quite a bit coming at you. We've got, I think, a double header tomorrow. Yeah, because we're going to be live reacting to SmackDown on Twitch, and then we're going to be coming right back here to YouTube to live react to New Japan Strong, and then Saturday is a day off, but then Sunday is Payback, which, no, actually, Saturday's not a day off. Saturday's Payback preview predictions, because Sunday is Payback live reactions. And then we've got, I actually have a schedule for next week, if you'd like to know. Would you like to know, John?
Do I, though? Do I? Go over
Well,
it.
we've got NXT live reactions next Tuesday. Then we
Okay.
5 Fave 5s next Wednesday. Plus AEW All Out Go Home edition of Dynamite live reactions that night. Then next Thursday, we've got AEW All Out preview predictions. Then next Friday, we've got another episode of New Japan Strong. And then next Saturday, we've got All Out live reactions. So next week is a very AEW heavy week.
Oh, yay. Okay.
But
well,
John, wait. I have good news, though.
Is it genuine good news, or are you taking the piss?
The first show that we have after AEW All Out live reactions is a Stardom show.
That is genuinely good news. I'll be excited for the 5-star Grand Prix to be resumed. Are we still getting, like, all the matches that we would have gotten on the normal schedule, or are they just, like...
They took all the matches from the canceled shows and jammed them into the matches that we still have remaining, or the shows that we have remaining.
Holy hell.
So, yeah, we went from having the final, I think the final, like, 9-ish, like 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that range shows, where none of the only one other, oh God, I can't fucking speak. Okay, we had like, I think 8 shows left in the 5-star or something like that. But none of them, other than the final one, had more than, I think, 6 matches on it. They all had like 3 to 6 matches. But now we only have 5 shows left, and none of them have fewer than 6 matches.
All right. Well, it's just going to be wonderful to have Stardom again, honestly, so I'm here for it.
Absolutely. There's actually a day, by the way, 9/12, on Saturday, September 12th. Death Yamasan will be wrestling 3 matches in one day.
Damn.
So yeah, they're going to have 2 shows on that day. And Death Yamasan has 2 matches on the first show and then another match on the second show. So she's got 3 matches on one day. Thankfully, it is Death Yamasan, and like her matches are the shortest matches of the tournament anyway. So she'll be fine, hopefully. But yeah, and then there are also 2 girls, Shuri and Micah, are facing each other on the last day of the 5-star, as well as each having a match against another opponent too. So that's more, double duty kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, that's the schedule. We hope that you're all looking forward to. We hope that you all enjoyed this Q&A. And most importantly, we hope that you're all able to remember to stay tuned.